Chapter 135. Try the other two wooden chests. In his sea of consciousness, Biluo, who had been silent all this while, reminded Lin Yi at this moment. Ever since Lin Yi entered the sword pavilion, Biluo had been in a deep sleep. It was only now that she began to communicate with Lin Yi. Okay, Lin Yi answered. Then, he mobilized his divine sense to test the other two wooden chests. Similarly, both of the wooden chests bounced off his divine sense. However, Lin Yi found a problem. That was, the strength of the bouncing off his divine sense from the three wooden chests was different. In other words, the restriction level of the three wooden chests was different. It was very simple. The items in the wooden chests were also of different levels. Lin Yi gradually understood this discovery. His master, whom he had never met, gave him three wooden chests, and he had to open them in order of strength. After 3 consecutive tests, Lin Yi chose the one with the weaker bouncing power and mobilized his divine sense to look at the restriction on the wooden chest. After a full 15 minutes, he finally found the location of the restriction. This is a kind of formation pattern. You should know about formation patterns. Lin Yi communicated with Biluo. Although his divine sense was powerful, he had never cultivated Array Dao and was clueless about Theta Scarabii. At this time, he could only place his hope on Biluo. It's a piece of cake, Biluo said. Lin Yi couldn't help but be stunned when he heard that. It turned out that Biluo had already discovered the restriction and formation pattern on the wooden chest, but she didn't say it out loud. Instead, she asked him to search carefully here. Thinking of this, he couldn't wait to beat Biluo up. Unfortunately, Biluo only existed in his sea of consciousness. She could only leave his sea of consciousness when she became stronger to a certain extent in the future. Then open it, Lin Yi said to Biluo in a flat tone. I said you do it. Otherwise, I'll continue to sleep. Biluo knew that Lin Yi was choking her and said coldly. There was a hint of anger in his tone. If she was asleep, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to do anything to her unless he used the soul-suppressing cauldron to kill or devour Biluo. However, he naturally wouldn't do that. All right, Lin Yi didn't argue with Biluo. A good man doesn't fight with a woman. Moreover, Biluo was just a consciousness. She wasn't even considered a person, so naturally, she wasn't a woman. Next, Biluo said that Lin Yi would take action. Lin Yi didn't know how to use array patterns. Fortunately, his divine telekinesis was strong, and he was a powerful divine spiritual sorcerer. Cultivating array patterns was a piece of cake for him. Right now, he wasn't cultivating array runes. He was just deciphering a simple array rune. 15 minutes passed. The wooden box made a crisp sound, and then the lid was opened. Lin Yi's figure flashed, and he floated in the air, looking at the items in the wooden box. In the wooden box, there were hundreds of rare treasures. It was a dazzling array that dazzled Lin Yi. What shocked him was that each of these rare treasures could be used by a martial artist. In this world, they were definitely extinct items. He counted for a while and finally observed the items in the wooden box. He had a rough idea. There were a total of 36 space treasures. They were all space rings, space bracelets, space belts, space hairpins, space necklaces, and so on. In addition to the space treasures, there was a set of sacred armor. What caught his attention the most was a palm-sized round mirror. The round mirror was neither gold nor jade. He didn't know what material it was made of. The back was full of dense array patterns. The front was smooth and had a mysterious power. What is this? Lin Yi looked at the round mirror and asked in confusion. In fact, he was asking Biluo. This is the soul mirror, a divine sense treasure. In my previous world, this was a treasure pursued by divine sense masters. Biluo answered, although he wasn't familiar with this soul mirror, but he had seen it a few times. When used, the power was terrifying. It was definitely a nightmare for the strong. Only if one's divine sense was stronger than the owner of the soul mirror could they resist the attack of the soul mirror. Attack or defense? Lin Yi was surprised. He was looking forward to it. This could be considered his first divine sense treasure. Now that he had the spiritual sense treasure, he had another trump card. Attack and support in one. Attack is called Soul Light. Support can reflect any attack. It can only be used once a day. Each time, its power will be exhausted. It will take a long time to recover the power of the soul mirror. Refine it and you'll understand. Biluo explained the benefits and uses of the soul mirror, as if she was very familiar with it. When Lin Yi heard it, he was shocked. With such a treasure, his strength would increase by a lot. Next, Lin Yi began to refine the soul mirror. After refining the soul mirror, he used his divine sense to put the 3 wooden boxes into the 9-fold space. Then, he put the entire Tianyuan mysterious palace into the 9-fold space. This time, he moved everything away. After everything was done, Lin Yi unfolded his body and quickly flew in the direction of Heaven Sea City. In the Yinshui Kingdom, except for the new secret realm of Shunwu College, everything else had been settled. He would return to the Yinshui Kingdom when he reached the Divine Dragon's 5 changes. Of course, the premise was that he had to repair the Divine Dragon Talisman. 2 months, Lin Yi returned to Heaven Sea City again. When he entered the Heaven Sea City, he discovered that the city had already been repaired. The originally dilapidated Heaven Sea City had now been restored to its original state. However, there was an additional item in the various large squares of the city. A statue. Yes, it was a statue. Lin Yi's statue. The statue was 100 meters tall and lifelike. In the statue's hand was a blade of grass. Seeing this scene, Lin Yi almost laughed out loud. The people of Heaven Sea City were really troublesome and fun. They even put the green darkness glaze on the statue. Indeed, in that battle, the green darkness glaze played an important role. Almost all the creation realm experts of the devil cult were killed by the green darkness glaze. The square was very lively. After surviving a disaster, humans cherished their lives more and worked harder to cultivate because they understood that if they were weak, they would be trampled. This was what Lin Yi had warned them. Lin Yi's words explained a fact. Today, when the devil cult and the demons attacked, Lin Yi was there. Would there be a second Lin Yi to help them when they were in trouble in the future? The answer was no. Therefore, only by becoming stronger could he protect himself, Heaven Sea City, and his family. In the outer sect of the Heaven Sea sect, Sister Moron, do you think Brother Lin will come back? It was the beautiful girl of the fairy clan, Lingxi. She pouted her red lips and held her chin with her hand as she asked Murong Lingling. Ever since Lin Yi killed the Demon King and left the Heaven Sea sect, they had not seen Lin Yi again. It had been 4 to 5 months, and Lingxi missed him very much. He will come back. He just went to deal with some things. Murong Lingling smiled. As beautiful as she was, no man had ever walked in her heart. This time, a young man had walked into her heart. Moreover, she thought about him day and night, as if she was possessed. That young man looked ordinary. However, it was all an illusion, because this young man's strength had surpassed everything. Hey, I seem to hear someone talking about me. At this moment, a faint voice sounded. Chapter 136. Brother Lin. Hearing the voice, Ling Shi and the others looked outside. They saw Lin Yi's figure. A happy smile appeared on Ling Shi's beautiful face as she ran towards Lin Yi. She came in front of Lin Yi, held Lin Yi's hand, and looked him up and down. You've grown a lot taller. Lin Yi smiled and reached out to stroke Ling Shi's beautiful hair. Then, he walked towards the pavilion. In the pavilion, there was also Luo Bingyue, Murong Lingling, and a silent soul. After not seeing each other for 4 to 5 months, the cultivation of the girls had increased at a terrifying rate. Originally, Luo Bingyue had the lowest cultivation. At this moment, her cultivation had also reached the 9th level of the Yin-Yang realm. She was only 1 step away from the Void Refinement realm. In the Sky Sea realm, those in the Void Refinement realm could protect themselves and could even be considered as experts. But outside the Sky Sea realm, in the outside world, the Void Refinement realm was completely at the bottom. Only those who had reached the creation realm could be considered as experts and barely stepped into the ranks of experts. Brother Lin, Shir has missed you during this period of time. Where have you been? Ling Shi raised her small face and pouted her rosy lips as she spoke. Although she was a little immature, she was still a living beauty. Moreover, her innocent and beautiful eyes were incomparably quick-witted, making it pleasing to the eyes. In a few years, this little girl would be a femme fatale. Who knew how many men would go crazy for her? During this period of time, I went to the Yinshui kingdom. I took care of some matters. Lin Yi said. Soon, they arrived at the pavilion, and the girls stood up to welcome him. Young master. Silent Soul called out gently. His voice was so pleasant that it made one's bones melt. Brother Lin Yi. Murong Lingling called out. You have returned to the 100,000 mountains. Luo Bingwei guessed that Lin Yi's purpose of returning to the Yinshui kingdom was to return to the 100,000 mountains. In the entire Yinshui kingdom, Lin Yi only wanted to go to the 100,000 mountains. Otherwise, he would not hesitate to spend a few months to return. Lin Yi greeted the three girls one by one. Silent Soul poured some tea for Lin Yi. Things that I didn't deal with before. This time, we'll deal with it as well. How has Heavenly Sea City been recently? Lin Yi asked. Now that the demonic sect had been wiped out, the demonic sect was basically pacified. As long as the demons in the demonic sect weren't stupid, they wouldn't dare to act recklessly. The reason why Lin Yi didn't deal with the devil god religion like he did with the demon destruction sect was because he knew how to distinguish between kindness and hatred. If the devil god religion didn't provoke the humans, he wouldn't deal with them either. If the demon god religion was like the demon religion, he really didn't mind taking action once and erasing the demon god religion from the heavenly sea realm. Lin Yi, the Grand Elder wants you to return. Make a trip to the heavenly sea palace. After chatting for a while, Luo Bingwei said. It turned out that Lin Yi seemed to have vanished from the face of the earth after the great battle. The Grand Elder of the Heavenly Sea sect was looking for Lin Yi, but he didn't know where Lin Yi went. Finally, he could only inform Luo Bingwei of the news and let Luo Bingwei pass on the message to Lin Yi. Oh, I'll go in a while. Oh, Lin Yi replied. The Grand Elder of the Heavenly Sea sect was a figure that stood at the pinnacle of the entire Heavenly Sea realm. He could make the entire Heavenly Sea realm tremble with a stomp of his feet. Since he was looking for Lin Yi personally, it must be something important. Of course, whether he met Lin Yi or not depended on whether he was happy or not. This was because Lin Yi was the #1 person in the Heavenly Sea realm. Even if all the humans and living beings in the Heavenly Sea realm were combined, they wouldn't be Lin Yi's match. Brother Lin, where's your plant life form? Lingxi asked Lin Yi curiously. The 9 green vines were extremely powerful. Even the demon cult's demon monarch 7 knights wasn't its match. After the great battle, the plant life form disappeared, just like Lin Yi. However, when the plant life form disappeared, Lin Yi was at the demon cult's headquarters hundreds of thousands of miles away. It's here. What's the matter? Lin Yi stretched out his hand, and a palm-sized green grass appeared. The grass was green and emitted a magical aura. If they hadn't seen its shocking power with their own eyes, no one would have taken the grass seriously. I'm just asking. I really didn't expect such a grass. Why is it so powerful? Lingxi looked at the grass curiously and said, thinking of the battle that day, except for Lin Yi killing the Demon King, everything in the entire Heavenly Sea City was settled by this grass. A grass, when unleashed, could destroy the world. I'm not a grass. My name is Qingming Lioli. You can call me Qingming or Lioli, but you can't call me grass. Unexpectedly, Qingming Lioli spoke in human language. Its voice was delicate, similar to Lingxi's. If it wasn't for the fact that it was a grass, they would have thought it was an elf's voice. Lingxi was shocked. Luo Bingwei, Murong Lingling, and Silent Soul were all shocked. Their beautiful eyes all looked at Qingming Lioli. You can speak? It's amazing. Lingxi was still childish and innocent. With a curious face, she reached out to grab the Qingming Lioli. However, the Qingming Lioli mysteriously disappeared, as if it had evaporated from the world. Lingxi grabbed nothing but air. Lingling, go to the Jubao Pavilion and do something for me. Lin Yi threw the Qingming Lioli out. It fell into Lingxi's hand. He looked at Murong Lingling and said, "What is it?" Murong Lingling was very happy and asked with a pout, "The battle last time. Some of the items I got are not useful to me. Go and help me deal with these items." Lin Yi told her what he wanted to do. In the battle last time, at the headquarters of the demonic sect, he razed the demonic sect to the ground and took all the treasures of the demonic sect. Even the storage bags and treasures of the dead demonic sect members were taken by him. Moreover, he extorted a large amount of treasures from the sect master of the demon god sect at the headquarters. These things were not very useful to him. Instead of leaving them idle, it was better to get rid of them and exchange them for spirit stones. He could use spirit stones to buy what he needed. So that's what it is. Grandpa Zhao wanted me to come to you. A sweet smile appeared on Murong Lingling's face. She was already worried about this matter and didn't expect Lin Yi to take the initiative to bring it up. It turned out that Zhao Shiqing wanted Murong Lingling to persuade Lin Yi to let Lin Yi trade the spoils of war with the Jubao Pavilion. Everyone knew that Lin Yi had wiped out the demonic sect and obtained countless treasures. Zhao Shiqing didn't want other companies to steal Lin Yi's business, so he thought of Murong Lingling. Murong Lingling didn't want Lin Yi to misunderstand. Then I'll leave this to you. Lin Yi took out a storage bag. There was a faint demonic chi on the bag. This storage bag belonged to the old monster of the demonic sect. Although it couldn't be compared to a spatial ring, it was definitely the best storage bag. It could store hundreds of cubic meters of items. At this moment, the storage bag was filled with countless natural treasures and cultivation resources. Chapter 137. All right, see you tomorrow. Murong Lingling took the chip, her heart filled with sweetness. Because Lin Yi gave her an identity chip. To be able to give her an identity chip meant that Lin Yi trusted her. With that, she left with small steps. She had to hurry to the Jubao Pavilion. One had to know that Lin Yi had obtained a treasure from the demon sect. It would take a long time to count it. Therefore, she had to get the people from the Jubao Pavilion to count it quickly. I'll also make a trip to the Sky Sea Palace. Lin Yi got up and left the pavilion. The Grand Elder of the Sky Sea Sect must be looking for him for an important matter. Since he was back, he had also received the news and would naturally go as soon as possible. Brother Lin, I'll go with you. Lingxi stepped forward and held Lin Yi's arm as she said coquettishly, Let's go. Lin Yi nodded. Then, the two walked in the direction of the Sky Sea Palace. After the war, the Sky Sea Sect's martial spirit was even more flourishing. And a month ago, the Sky Sea Sect recruited another batch of disciples, the number reaching more than 50,000, although most of them were from the outer sect. However, with the environment and resources of the Sky Sea Sect, these geniuses grew even faster. This was also to prevent a repeat of the previous war. On the way, they could see the Sky Sea Sect geniuses everywhere. Senior Brother Lin. Senior Brother Lin. Senior Brother Lin. Along the way, everyone who saw Lin Yi bowed and greeted Lin Yi. Their faces were filled with respect and admiration. Who was Lin Yi? He was the #1 person in the Sky Sea realm. With his own strength, he turned the tide, fought the Demon King, and quelled the war. Wiped out the Demon Sect. Suppressed the Demon God Sect. There was no more Demon Sect in the entire Sky Sea realm. And there was no threat from the Demon God Sect. Since ancient times, this had been the dream of mankind. This dream had been realized by Lin Yi. Lin Yi's status was incomparably revered and unparalleled. He was the idol of countless geniuses, with Lin Yi as their goal. Soon, the two arrived at the Heavenly Sea Palace. After entering the main hall, Yinfeng Wu Lai and Xiandu Liang were already there. Two of the original 4 Grand Elders had fallen in the Great Battle. Currently, the Heavenly Sea Sect only had 2 Grand Elders. Palace Lord also abdicated. Because of his serious injuries, he needed to cultivate in seclusion. Greetings, Elder Yinfeng. Greetings, Elder Scorching Sunday. Lin Yi walked into the Sky Sea Palace. His entire person was incomparably calm, as relaxed as if he was in his own backyard. He walked to the center of the palace and nodded at the 2 Grand Elders as a form of greeting. With his current cultivation and strength, there was no need for him to bow. There's no need to be so polite. Sit. Yinfeng Wuya nodded with a smile. He pointed at the coffee table beside him and said, According to the etiquette and status of the Heavenly Sea Sect, the 2 Grand Elders should sit in the main seats. However, the one who had come today was Lin Yi, so they naturally would not sit in the main seats. Instead, he chose the tea table in the palace and sat side by side with Lin Yi. This also showed his recognition and respect for Lin Yi's status. I wonder why the Grand Elders are looking for me. Lin Yi sat down. He went straight to the point. At their level of cultivation, it was unwise to scheme and beat around the bush. Instead, it was more enjoyable to be straightforward. In front of powerful strength, all schemes and tricks were paper tigers. You're leaving the heavenly sea realm, right? Yinfeng Wulia looked at Lin Yi with a smile on his face. He had lived for nearly 200 years. He never imagined that there would be a day when a youth could be on equal footing with him, or even far surpass him. He understood that the heavenly sea realm could not trap a heaven-defying freak like Lin Yi. The heavenly sea sect had ruled the heavenly sea realm for countless years. If the heavenly sea sect wanted to know about the actions of the heavenly sea realm, no one could hide it. Yinfeng Wulai was very curious about Lin Yi's heaven-defying rise. In addition, Lin Yi had triggered a peerless sword beam, so he knew that Lin Yi's background was extraordinary. He checked Lin Yi's information and looked through everything about Lin Yi for the past 2 years. Naturally, he knew that Lin Yi would not stay in the Heavenly Sea sect and was only passing by Heavenly Sea City. Okay, it's time to leave. Lin Yi nodded. Returning to Heavenly Sea City was also to prepare to leave during this period of time. I have some information here that you want. Luo Xing and Luo Ling went to the Heavenly Tsanshuan sect. The Heavenly Tsanshuan sect is a grade 6 faction. Although you are talented and strong, you must not go against a faction above grade 6 unless your cultivation has reached a certain level. Yinfeng Wulai looked at Lin Yi. He said in a serious tone. His tone was euphemistic. It meant that Lin Yi was definitely the #1 person in the Heavenly Sea realm. But after leaving the Heavenly Sea realm and going to other places, Lin Yi's talent and strength were not very outstanding. In the outside world, geniuses were as common as clouds and strong as snow. Moreover, behind those geniuses were either super clans or super sections. Some were even descendants of saints. Each of them had a strong background and backing. In other words, any ordinary warrior you met on the street might be a descendant of a saint or someone from a super clan. What grade is the Heavenly Sea sect? Lin Yi was shocked. In fact, he also understood that the outside world was not simple. In this powerful world, there were countless ancient clans and sections. It was not as weak as the Heavenly Sea realm. The Heavenly Sea sect is outside. It can barely be considered a grade 8 faction. There is a huge difference in strength between each grade. It can be said that the difference is like heaven and earth. Yinfeng Wulai pondered for a moment. The Heavenly Sea sect was considered the ruler of the Heavenly Sea realm. But in the outside world, the Heavenly Sea sect couldn't be any weaker. How many grades are the factions divided into? Lin Yi asked. A total of 9 grades. Grade 9 is the weakest, and grade 1 is the strongest. Xuandu Liang, who had not spoken, said, "Why would Xing, and Ling go to the Heavenly Tsanshuan sect?" Lin Yi was incomparably solemn. From the beginning, Yinfeng Wulai had mentioned that the Heavenly Tsanshuan sect was a grade 6 faction, which meant that he should be careful. There must be a reason to be careful of a sect. Moreover, why would Luo Xing and Luo Ling go to the Heavenly Tsanshuan sect? Something must have happened between them that he didn't know about. Dongfang Yu, a genius disciple of the mysterious Heaven sect. This Dongfang Yu is from the Dongfang Trading Company. The Dongfang Trading Company came to the Heavenly Sea City to trade, and Dongfang Yu met Luo Xing and Luo Ling In the end, Luo Xing and Luo Ling left on the Qingfeng Trading Company's ship. Xuandu Liang said. He told the news to Lin Yi. If it weren't for the rise of Lin Yi, they wouldn't have collected information about Lin Yi. They knew that Lin Yi knew Luo Xing and Luo Ling Lin Yi's original purpose was to find Luo Ling and Luo Xing It seems that I have to leave early. A smile appeared on Lin Yi's face. But he was worried. Luo Ling and Luo Xing were both beautiful girls. If they were bullied in the outside world, they would have no one to rely on. He naturally didn't believe that Dongfang Yu didn't have any thoughts about the 2 girls. Let me briefly explain the situation outside. Yinfeng Wulai knew that Lin Yi would leave. Chapter 138. The one closest to the Sky Sea realm is called the Heavenly Purification Territory. There are 2 empires in the heavenly purification territory and 4 kingdoms under each of the empires. The heavenly Tsangshuan sect belongs to the heavenly clouds kingdom. Be careful when you go there. In the heavenly sea palace, Xuandu Liang spoke at a moderate pace. He told Lin Yi everything he knew, which was very useful to him. The divine land was a vast and magnificent world, where only the strong could survive. How long does it take a travel from the sky-sea realm to the heavenly clouds kingdom? Do I have to cross the sea? Lin Yi looked at Xuandu Liang. If he could only cross the sea, the time required would be immeasurable. Moreover, the sea was filled with danger, and it was unknown if he could reach the heavenly clouds kingdom. It would be better if there was a teleportation array. If there really was one, only the heavenly sea sect would know. We can only cross the sea. Before ancient times, the sky-sea realm was a corner of the divine continent. Therefore, there is no need for a teleportation array. After ancient times, the divine continent and the sky-sea realm separated and the distance increased. There is no such power to build a teleportation array. Moreover, not many people dare to go to the heavenly purification territory. Xuandu Liang shook his head. After confirming that there was no teleportation array, they could only cross the sea. The sky-sea realm and the heavenly purification territory were separated by the boundless sea. Even the fastest ship would take 2 to 3 months. Moreover, the journey was fraught with danger. If they were not careful, they would be buried in the sea and become a delicious meal for the sea beasts. Then let's cross the sea. Lin Yi got up and walked out of the heavenly sea palace. Thinking about it, even if there was a teleportation array, back in the ancient times, the teleportation array would have been destroyed under the shocking changes. In the sky-sea realm, it is best to choose a powerful faction. Cebu Gakuin, you might consider it. The sky-sea realm's Shunwu College and other Shinwu colleges are all subsidiary branches of Cebu Gakuin. Cebu Gakuin is the main college, but it is very difficult to enter Cebu Gakuin. Yinfeng Wuya's voice. It sounded behind Lin Yi. Understood. Lin Yi had a smile on his face. By the time his voice reached the 2 Grand Supreme Elders' ears, he had already returned to the heavenly sea sect's outer sect. Returning to the pavilion, Lin Yi sat down cross-legged and began to regulate his breathing. Miss, it's time for you to go back. Jubao Pavilion, in the living room at the top floor. A middle-aged man said to Murong Lingling. Even though he addressed Murong Lingling as Miss, there wasn't a trace of respect in his tone. Instead, it was a commanding tone. When he spoke, his hands were behind his back. He had an arrogant look on his face. Murong Xiao, take note of your status. Murong Lingling's expression darkened. She glanced at the middle-aged man and said, although Murong Xiao's surname is Murong, however, he was not a member of the Murong clan. He was originally a genius with a different surname, but once he became strong, the Murong clan gave him the surname Murong. Once he reached Blessed Realm, his status rose exponentially. He didn't even have the slightest bit of respect for Murong Lingling. It was as if the Murong family was his. I'm following the orders of the patriarch. I'm here to bring Miss back. Murong Xiao's expression changed. He didn't expect Miss to be so direct and not give him any face at all. He was a Blessed Realm warrior, but he was being scolded by a Yin Yang Realm warrior. This made him angry. However, he didn't dare to speak to Murong Lingling openly. He didn't dare to do anything to Murong Lingling, at least not openly. However, the anger in his heart turned into hatred, and the seed of evil was planted in his heart. We'll talk about it later. Grandpa Zhao, I'll take my leave first. Murong Lingling glanced at Murong Xiao indifferently. Then, she said to Zhao Shiqing. She waved her hand, and there was a chip in her slender hand. Go, Zhao Shiqing said with a smile. Zhao Shiqing, you're good. Miss has been spoiled by you. How are you going to explain it to the patriarch? Murong Xiao watched as Murong Lingling left. She didn't care about him at all. The feeling of being looked down on almost drove him crazy. At this moment, he vented his anger on Zhao Shiqing. Right now, he was much higher than Zhao Shiqing in terms of status and cultivation. Murong Xiao, pay attention to your status. Miss isn't someone you could talk about. Zhao Shiqing sighed. They're both geniuses, but why is there such a huge difference between them? He couldn't help but think of that young man. Last time, he said that the young man could be ranked in the top 100. However, he didn't expect that young man to be so monstrous. Now, he was a complete joke. That young man was a heaven-defying monster. However, his character and conduct were a million times better than Morong Xiu's. Slap. In the air, there was a clear sound. Zhao Shiqing spun a few rounds from Morong Xiu's slap. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, and 2 of his teeth fell out. You better not provoke me. Let me tell you something. The bigger the fist, the bigger the law. Remember to respect the strong. Morong Xiu said coldly. He was in the yin-yang realm, while Zhao Shiqing was only in the void refinement realm. The difference in their cultivation was huge. Void refinement realm cultivators had to bow respectfully when they saw creation realm cultivators. However, Zhao Shiqing's words provoked Morong Xiu. With that, Morong Xiu turned and left. Sigh. Zhao Shiqing sighed. Yes, the strong were respected. The bigger the fist, the bigger the law. Since Morong Xiu's cultivation was stronger than his, he could only be beaten. Brother Lin Yi. Early in the morning, Morong Lingling's voice reached Lin Ye's ears. When that sweet and clear voice sounded, Morong Lingling had already appeared in Lin Ye's pavilion. She was only a step away from entering Lin Ye's room. So early, Lin Yi tidied his clothes and opened the door. He saw Morong Lingling in a light blue dress, looking extremely beautiful. Her tall figure could be said to be perfect. I've already settled your matter. This is the list. The spirit stones have already been transferred to your crystal chip. Morong Lingling handed a jade slip and a crystal chip to Lin Yi. Since returning to Jubao Pavilion yesterday, Zhao Shiqing had all the workers in Jubao Pavilion begin to count Lin Ye's items and record everything clearly. Over 100 workers busied themselves for an entire night before they finally finished counting all the items. Oh, Lin Yi took the crystal chip and jade slip. He scanned the jade slip with his divine perception and found that it was a record of the items and their corresponding prices. Finally, there was a total price. Total price, 36910000000 spirit stones. Lin Yi was shocked when he saw the total price. The 369. 1 billion spirit stones was beyond his imagination, and it shook his heart and soul. However, it was normal when he thought about it. The demonic sect, this was all the wealth of the demonic sect. Although the Sky Sea realm couldn't compare to the heavenly purification territory, the Sky Sea realm was a holy land of martial arts before ancient times. The demonic sect was one of the 3 giants of the Sky Sea realm, and they had demons behind them. The wealth and resources they plundered were absolutely heaven-defying. Chapter 139. Little Brother Lin Yi. I might have to leave the Sky Sea realm. Morong Lingling said after Lin Yi put away the jade slip and crystal chip. She sounded a little disappointed. However, this disappointment disappeared in a flash. I forgot. You're not from the Sky Sea realm. Lin Yi was stunned and then remembered that Morong Lingling was not from the Sky Sea realm, but the daughter of the Morong family in the heavenly purification territory. She came to the Sky Sea realm only to train. Now that Morong Lingling was 20 years old, it was time for her to return to the heavenly purification territory. Yes, if you go to the heavenly purification territory in the future, you must go to the Morong family to see me. Morong Lingling looked at Lin Yi, her beautiful face full of reluctance. In front of Morong Xiu, she said to wait for a while, but she knew that it was impossible not to go back. The Morong family. I do want to take a look. There should be a chance. Are you going to cross the sea when you return to the heavenly purification territory? Lin Yi nodded. The Morong family was in the heavenly purification territory, and he was going to the heavenly purification territory this time. In the future, there would naturally be a chance to go to the Morong family. He even wanted to go to the heavenly purification territory with Morong Lingling. After all, the Jubao Pavilion's power was not small, and business would cross the sea. Their ships were relatively safer. In the sea, the trading company's ships were the safest, at least in front of Lin Yi. Lin Yi had never crossed the sea before, so he was a little scared. Cross the sea. The Jubao Pavilion has its own ship. Morong Lingling said absent-mindedly. She did not expect Lin Yi to leave the Sky Sea realm so quickly and have designs on the Morong family's ship. Just nice. I'll take the Jubao Pavilion ship to the heavenly purification territory, Lin Yi said with a smile. He looked at Murong Lingling. You want to take the Jubao Pavilion ship to the heavenly purification territory? When Murong Lingling's beautiful eyes were full of surprise. More than that, they were excited. It was imperative for her to leave the Sky Sea realm, and she was reluctant to do so. Now that Lin Yi was going to the heavenly purification region, it couldn't be any better. Furthermore, she would have more time to spend with Lin Yi. Aren't you going back to the heavenly purification territory? Since I'm on the Jubao Pavilion ship, the timing is naturally up to your Jubao Pavilion. Lin Yi felt warmth in his heart when he saw Murong Lingling's happy expression. We'll leave tomorrow. Murong Lingling almost jumped for joy. The sense of loss in his heart had long disappeared. At this moment, he felt as if he had gone from hell to heaven. After saying that, she mustered up her courage and kissed Lin Yi on the cheek. Then, she quickly ran away and left the Heavenly Sea sect. She wanted to return to the Jubao Pavilion and promised to return to the heavenly purification domain. Lin Yi felt that there was still a trace of warmth left from that soft kiss. His heartbeat quickened. Seeing Murong Lingling leave as if she was escaping, Lin Yi could only be speechless. Murong Lingling was indeed a devastatingly beautiful goddess. Any man would be proud to receive the favor of such a peerless beauty, and Lin Yi was no exception. The next day, noon, Lin Yi brought along Luo Bingyue, Lingxi, and Silent Soul. The four of them quietly arrived at Lin Yi's Heavenly Sea City and arrived at the harbor on the coast outside the city. There were more than 10 ships docked at the harbor. On these ships, without exception, the flag of the Jubao Pavilion was hung. Furthermore, on each ship, there were hundreds of crew members and experts. Not far from the ships, a peerless beauty stood tall and straight. Her light blue dress accentuated her otherworldly beauty. She was like an otherworldly goddess. The woman looked into the distance from time to time, as if she was waiting for someone. There was even a trace of anxiousness on her beautiful face. When she saw the arrival of Lin Yi's group, a smile appeared on the woman's beautiful face. However, the middle-aged man beside her was clearly unhappy. Miss, you're waiting for them? Murong Xiu looked at Lin Yi's group of 4 and couldn't help but frown. If it was just Luo Bingyue and the other 2, he would naturally welcome them. This was because Luo Bingyue, Lingxi, and Silent Soul were all peerless beauties, and they were even more beautiful than Murong Lingling. As a manifestation realm warrior, countless beautiful women would try to curry favor with him in a place like the Heavenly Sea realm. However, there was also a young man beside these 3 beauties. That young man was like the moon surrounded by stars. It was obvious that the young man was the center of the 3 beauties. This made him feel unbalanced. More importantly, this young man was definitely the person Murong Lingling was waiting for. What's wrong? He's the person I like. You'd better not cause trouble for me. Murong Lingling originally had a smile on her face, but when she turned to look at Murong Xiu, her face was cold. She gave off a feeling that she was out of reach. If she followed Murong Xiu back to the heavenly purification region alone, she would have to be more polite to Murong Xiu. After all, Murong Xiu was a manifestation realm warrior from the Murong family. However, with Lin Yi on this trip with her, she no longer had any fear or scruples. This was because no matter how powerful Murong Xiu was, he might not be Lin Yi's match. Murong Xiu's expression was extremely ugly. If it weren't for the fact that Murong Lingling was the Murong family's young lady, he would have already killed her. He had nowhere to vent the anger in his heart. He looked coldly in Lin Yi's direction. Vicious killing intent rose in his heart. As long as they were on the sea, Murong Lingling, Lin Yi, and the 3 girls beside him were at his mercy. He could do whatever he wanted then. Brother Lin Yi, Sister Bingyue, Silent Soul, Lingxi. Murong Lingling didn't argue with Murong Xiu. Arguing with Murong Xiu was completely against her own feelings. Seeing Lin Yi and the other 3 arrive, Murong Lingling happily shouted. As she spoke, she had already jogged over and naturally held onto Lin Yi's right arm. This was because his left arm was held by the little elf, Lingxi, and only his right arm was left for her. Holding on to Lin Yi, her heart was filled with happiness. When Murong Xiu saw this scene, he almost went berserk. Lingling. Lin Yi greeted her. He had already ignored Murong Lingling's actions. He could only ignore it. He couldn't possibly shake off Murong Lingling's small hand. In the group, Lin Yi didn't say anything. On the other hand, Ling Si and Murong Lingling chattered. Luo Bingyue and Silent Soul followed behind Lin Yi. The four beautiful girls surrounded Lin Yi like stars surrounding the moon. Soon, the five of them arrived in front of the ship. "Hello, young Master Lin. We meet again," Zhao Shiqing said. He had a happy smile on his face. In the previous battle, Lin Yi's battle prowess had shocked the heavens. He was only at the first tier of the Blessed Realm, but he had killed 2 great demon kings. Even Qing Tong was a terrifying existence. With Lin Yi around, Murong Lingling would be much safer. "Elder Zhao, follow us back to heavenly purification territory." Lin Yi smiled. He used to address Zhao Shiqing as senior. That was because of Zhao Shiqing's cultivation realm and Murong Lingling's face. But now, he was already in the creation realm, and his strength surpassed his realm. Chapter 140. No need. I still have to stay in the Sky Sea realm for a few years before returning. You can return to the heavenly purification region with the ship. Please take care of Lingling along the way, young Master Lin. Zhao Shiqing shook his head. He wanted to go back. However, the business in the Sky Sea realm had not been settled yet. Even if he wanted to go back, he had to wait for someone to take over. "No problem." Lin Yi nodded. He glanced at Murong Xiu and smiled as a greeting. If it wasn't for peace, he definitely wouldn't greet this Creation Realm warrior. This was because when he saw this middle-aged Creation Realm warrior, he felt a murderous aura. Nothing could escape a peak stage 44 divine spirit sorcerer's senses. Humph, the people from the Sky Sea realm indeed have no manners. Murong Xiu glanced coldly at Lin Yi. He snorted and said, what he meant was that Lin Yi didn't know manners and didn't know how to salute a Creation Realm warrior. "Are you bored?" In response to Murong Xiu's words, Lin Yi only glanced at Murong Xiu lightly and didn't argue with him. Seeing that Murong Lingling was about to speak, Lin Yi squeezed her hand and said. The meaning of his words was obvious. He was asking if Murong Lingling was bored. Only a bored person would argue with trash like Murong Xiu. It seemed like he was persuading Murong Lingling, but his actions and words were extremely provocative and humiliating. As he spoke, he had already walked onto the ship. This action made it seem like he was the owner of the ship. Luo Bingyue was serious and cold. Silent Soul was extremely beautiful and charming. However, she stood on Lin Ye's side because she was Lin Ye's woman. Needless to say, Ling Si was holding on to Lin Ye's arm. Murong Lingling obediently and gently acknowledged. She looked extremely obedient and was completely different from the goddess who kept people at arm's length. When Murong Xiu saw this, he was about to explode with anger. To be honest, even though Murong Xiu was an outsider, he was very talented after he was bestowed the surname Murong. Gradually, he started to have thoughts of entering the Murong family, and naturally, he also had ideas about Murong Lingling. But now, Murong Lingling was behaving so obediently in front of this youth. He almost went berserk. Soon, the group boarded the ship. Set sail. The person leading the fleet this time was an old man at the peak of the 9th level void refinement stage from the Murong clan. His cultivation base and strength were similar to Zhao Shiqing's, and he was in charge of the Murong clan's business. His status in the Murong family was very high. He was also Murong Lingling's 7th uncle. With a single order, the 13 ships set sail. Gradually, the ship left the coast and headed towards the sea. The ship Lin Yu was on was the main ship. It was 300 meters long, 100 meters wide, and 20 meters tall. It was a huge monster. It was like a small island moving in the sea. As for the other 12 ships, although they couldn't compare to the main ship, they were much stronger. However, it was still far from the main ship. After the 13 ships left the coast, they became faster and faster. They were like sharks cutting through the wind and waves. 7th uncle. This is my junior brother, Linyi. Junior sister, Luo Bingwe. Junior sister, Silent Soul, and junior sister, Lingxi. Murong Lingling brought Lin Yi and the others to Murong Cheng and introduced Lin Yi and the others to Murong Cheng. At the same time, she introduced Murong Cheng to Lin Yi. Although Murong Cheng was only at the void refinement stage and was only one step away from the creation stage, his status was very high. He controlled 1/3 of the Murong family's business. Yes, although the Sky Sea realm has declined, but the Sky Sea realm is full of outstanding people and has produced good geniuses. However, you shouldn't have offended Murong Xiao. Murong Cheng nodded. Although he did not take the Sky Sea realm seriously, the 3 women and 1 man in front of him were indeed good geniuses. They were considered geniuses in the heavenly purification territory. However, he still believed that Lin Yi should not have offended Murong Xiao, a young man with a cultivation level of only the 5th stage of the yin-yang realm. Even if he was talented, he should not have offended a peerless powerhouse in the creation stage. Yes, Lin Yi's cultivation level was only at the 5th stage of the yin-yang realm. This was also the effect of cultivating the 3,000 heavenly Tao. As long as he did not show his true cultivation level, even a powerhouse much stronger than him would not be able to see through his true cultivation level. Moreover, Lin Yi was at the 1st stage of the creation stage. Murong Cheng was only at the void refinement stage, so he could not see through Lin Yi's true cultivation level. Besides, Lin Yi was only a 16-year-old young man. He would not believe that Lin Yi was in the creation stage. A 16-year-old young man in the yin-yang realm was already very talented. In this world, there is no such thing as provoking or not provoking. Isn't that so? Lin Yi said with a smile. In this world where the strong were respected, if you were weak, others could beat you up if they did not like you. There was no such thing as provoking or not provoking. This did not make sense at all. If one's cultivation level was weak, only a fool would provoke a superpowerhouse. Sigh. Murong Cheng sighed, turned around, and left. Little brother Lin Yi, rest first. Don't be calculative with 7th uncle. Murong Lingling naturally would not expose him. She watched as Murong Cheng left and spoke softly to Lin Yi. A trace of guilt appeared on her beautiful face. This time, Lin Yi was looked down upon and misunderstood twice in a row. However, Lin Yi did not explain anything from the beginning to the end. She knew that Lin Yi did not need to explain at all. No one could make Lin Yi explain because they did not have the right. Okay. Lin Yi nodded. Although the Jubao Pavilion ship was very fast, it would take 1.5 months to travel from the Sky Sea realm to the heavenly baptism territory if everything went smoothly. If there were storms along the way, it would take even longer. During this time, he could cultivate properly. The 3rd floor of the ship was where the important people rested. Murong Lingling also lived here. Lin Yi and the others each had a separate room. Before entering the room, Lin Yi told Silent Soul that he was going to cultivate in seclusion. Generally, he was not to be disturbed. This included Lingxi, Luo Bingyue, Murong Lingling, and the others. After entering the room, Lin Yi used his divine will. The azure darkness glaze appeared. At the same time, a simple restriction was cast. With the azure darkness glaze and the restriction, Lin Yi would not be in danger even if he encountered a creation realm expert. After doing all this, Lin Yi could cultivate in seclusion and peace. Starry Sky Divine Technique. Lin Yi circulated his cultivation technique and circulated it in a complete cycle. As the cultivation technique circulated, his body felt comfortable. Powerful true essence surged, and the terrifying power of fortune vibrated. This was the creation realm. It had the power to steal the creation of heaven and earth. The 1st level of the creation realm was many times more powerful than the 9th level of the void refinement realm. This was beyond the level of quantity. Between the creation realm and the void refinement realm, quantity could no longer be related to quality. Even though he had reached the 1st level of the manifestation realm and had displayed his invincible might in the previous battle, he was well aware that the difference between his cultivation and the Demon King's was more than 1,000 miles. It was an insurmountable gap. He could fight the Demon King and even kill him. He could wipe out the demon sect and suppress the demon god cult. He could completely mobilize the power of the divine sword. This kind of power was extremely terrifying. However, he could only use it once. After that, this kind of power would disappear. Right now, his true strength was comparable to someone at the third layer of the creation realm, and he could even fight someone at the fourth layer of the creation realm. After reaching the creation realm, he could no longer kill enemies who were 10 or more small realms above him like before. Every level of the creation realm was a different world. The difference between the first level of the creation realm and the second level was like the difference between the 9th level of the yin-yang realm and the first level of the void refinement realm. Chapter 141. The sea was boundless. Jubao Pavilion's 13 ships rode the wind and waves. They sailed in the direction of the heavenly purification region. On the main ship, Lin Yi was cultivating hard in his room. The time in the ninefold space was 16, one compared to the outside world. In other words, 16 days in the ninefold space was only 1 day in the outside world. He had already made a plan for his cultivation. 1/4 of the time to cultivate the starry sky divine art. 1/4 of the time to cultivate the 3,000 heavenly Tao. 1/4 of the time to cultivate the heaven stage and saint stage martial techniques. 1/4 of the time to cultivate the divine dragon 9 transformations. These were all life-saving methods that he relied on to survive. The path of cultivation was like rowing a boat against the current. If one did not advance, one would fall behind. Only by constantly advancing and improving faster than others would one not be left too far behind by those of the same level. In the Sky-Sea realm, he was already standing at the peak. But in the heavenly purification region, he had no advantage at all. Therefore, he had to rely on his own hard work. Unknowingly, a month passed. The ship had already entered the center of the sea. However, this area was very dangerous. Only by passing through this area could one be considered to have passed the dangerous period. Merchant ships were most afraid of passing through this area. This was because there were powerful pirates and sea beasts in this area. Rumble, rumble. Lin Yi was cultivating when he suddenly felt a terrifying roar. Even though he was separated by a restriction, he could still hear it. Even the huge ship started to shake as if it had encountered shocking storm. Soon, Lin Yi discovered something. This was not caused by the storm. It was a commotion caused by a battle between experts. He activated his divine perception, and a majestic divine perception spread out. Instantly, everything within a 50-kilometer radius with him as the center was imprinted in his mind. Everything outside could be seen clearly. It was indeed a battle between experts. On a ship, Luo Bingyue and the other girls were also standing on the observation deck. There were 2,000 experts on the 13 ships. These experts were all at the yin-yang realm, and there were countless at the void refinement realm. However, Murong Xiao was the only creation realm expert. At this moment, the person fighting Murong Xiao was a middle-aged man with a big beard. The middle-aged man exuded a powerful aura, and every attack stirred the sky and sea. He was a peerless expert at the second level of the creation realm. More importantly, there were 3 manifestation realm experts on the pirate ship. His cultivation was about the same as the bearded middle-aged man. Lin Yi could not help but feel shocked when 4 blessed realm pirates and thousands of ordinary experts appeared all of a sudden. Since when did blessed realm pirates become so common? However, these were creation realm experts. Seriously, he really didn't think much of it. Putting aside the fact that he had the dark firmament glass, he was confident that he could kill the 4 of them by himself. For blessed realm pirates had gathered together to rob a trading company. Needless to say, the Jubao Pavilion's ship definitely had the goods that the pirates needed. With such thoughts in mind, Zhang Xian stopped cultivating. He tidied up his clothes and walked out of the room. Brother Lin. Seeing Lin Yi come out, Ling Si shouted happily. Her small hand was already holding Lin Yi's arm. Luo Bingyue and Murong Lingling nodded and greeted Lin Yi. Silent Soul bowed gracefully, looking extremely charming. We encountered pirates. The situation is not good. Lin Yi walked to the observation deck of the ship and looked at the 2 creation realm experts fighting in the sky above the sea. He was curious. If the pirates wanted to rob the Jubao pavilion's goods, they did not need 4 Creation Realm experts. As he spoke, he glanced at Murong Chang. For Creation Realm experts, although they are strong, they are still not Murong Xiu's match. Maybe they are here for Lingling. Murong Cheng's expression was solemn, but his tone was calm. Although the pirates had 4 second-level Creation Realm experts, their true strength was still not Murong Xiu's match. Murong Xiu's strength was beyond his realm, and he was a member of the Murong family. Whether it was the cultivation method or the martial arts technique that he cultivated, it was not something that ordinary people could compare to. They are here for Lingling? Does anyone know that Lingling will return to the heavenly purification territory on the ship? Lin Yu was puzzled. Murong Lingling was unparalleled in beauty and was the Murong family's daughter. However, the sea was boundless. How could the pirates know in advance that Murong Lingling would return to the heavenly purification territory? Besides, were they not afraid of the Murong family's revenge if they kidnapped Murong Lingling? This area is the world of pirates. Even the Murong family can't do anything about it. They want to capture Lingling and blackmail the Murong family. But who leaked the news of Lingling's return? Murong Cheng was also puzzled. Everything else made sense. The only thing that made sense was who leaked the news of Murong Lingling returning to the heavenly purification territory. Moreover, this secret had already been leaked before Murong Lingling left the Sky Sea realm. Rumble, rumble. In the sky above the sea, Murong Xiu and the middle-aged bearded man were fighting fiercely. Although the middle-aged bearded man's cultivation was 1 level higher than Murong Xiu's, Murong Xiu was stronger than the middle-aged bearded man. He was even suppressing the latter. Murong Cheng, leave Miss Murong behind. Your ship can pass through here. On the pirate ship, one of the Blessed Realm pirates spoke loudly. His tone showed that he did not care about Jubao Pavilion's ship at all. As expected, the pirates were here for Murong Lingling. Everyone, let's talk nicely. Since you know that we're from the Murong family, you should know some of the rules of Theta Scarabii. Do you really want to be enemies with the Murong family? Murong Cheng stepped forward. He shouted loudly. First, they were talking nicely. Then, they brought up the Murong family. Pirates would rob ships in the sea for the sake of cultivation resources. Unless they had no other choice, they would not go against a colossus like the Murong family. This was also the key to Jubao Pavilion's safety in the sea all these years. Haha, the Murong family is indeed powerful. But that's the heavenly purification territory. Old man, look carefully. This is the sea. No matter how powerful the Murong family is, they wouldn't dare to extend their hands here. Today, everyone on the ship will die. All of the goods will be left behind. The pirate who spoke was a tall and big man. His entire body exuded the domineering power of creation. Among the 4 Blessed Realm pirates, he was the strongest. Ignorant, Murong Xiu spoke. As he spoke, a saber appeared in his hand. The saber slashed down fiercely. Suddenly, the space was cut in half. An unparalleled destructive power bombarded the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man spat out a mouthful of blood, and his body was sent flying into the distance. You're courting death. Murong Xiu severely injured the middle-aged man. 2 of the 3 Blessed Realm warriors on the pirate ship went up to Murong Xiu. The other one flew toward the main ship. When the pirate landed on the main ship, his eyes turned green when he saw Murong Lingling, Luo Bingyue, and the other 2 girls. He only knew that Murong Lingling was unparalleled. Chapter 142. Ha ha ha. The pirate who came to the main ship was a short man. His bean-sized eyes rolled around, and the sound of him swallowing his saliva could be heard. Then he laughed loudly. At this moment, the 2 Creation Realm pirates fighting Murong Xiu in the air also saw Luo Bingyue and the other girls on the main ship. They were extremely excited. The short pirate walked towards Luo Bingyue and the other girls. He completely ignored the hundreds of experts on the main ship. To some Yin Realm and refined Void Realm cultivators, Creation Realm cultivators were not worth their attention. In the eyes of Creation Realm cultivators, Yin Realm and refined Void Realm cultivators were just a bunch of ants. Boom! Boom! Just as the short pirate was about to reach Murong Lingling and the other girls, Murong Shio released a destructive attack in the sky above the sea, forcing the two Creation Realm pirates to retreat. His figure flashed and appeared in front of Murong Lingling. He shielded Murong Lingling behind him. It was like a hero saving a beauty. "Just the four of you? You want to hit on the young mistress in front of me?" Murong Shio's eyes were cold as he spoke. His aura distorted the space around him, and the seawater in the sea soared into the sky. It was extremely terrifying. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment, the other two Creation Realm pirates, including the middle-aged bearded man, returned to the main ship. The four Creation Realm pirates released a terrifying aura. The aura of Creation Realm cultivators constantly tore through space. For a moment, the auras of the five Creation Realm cultivators on the main ship were evenly matched. Thud! Thud! Several breaths, Method Murong Shio and the four Creation Realm pirates each took a few steps back. Murong Shio did not seem to be at a disadvantage in the clash of auras. It was enough to prove that his strength was terrifying and that he was one of the top figures in the same realm. Young Master. At this moment, Silent Soul brought a peeled spirit fruit to Lin Ye's mouth. Her appearance was gentle to the extreme, and her charm was unparalleled. It was enough to make all the men in the world go crazy. However, she could still be so calm in this situation and even directly ignore the scene in front of her. The four Creation Realm pirates were stunned. Murong Shio was stunned. Murong Chung was stunned. Everyone on the main ship, be it the pirates or the crew, stared blankly at Silent Soul and Lin Yi. They didn't expect something like this to happen. What made people even more speechless was Lin Yi opened his mouth and ate the spirit fruit as if it was a matter of course. On what basis? A young man in the Yin-Yang realm was actually so calm in front of a few Creation Realm cultivators and a bunch of Void Refinement Realm cultivators. Brother Lin, that shorty's gaze is really annoying. Before the crowd, who were still in shock, could recover from their shock. Ling Shi's words made everyone even more confused. If Solitary Spirit and Lin Ye's actions at the beginning were shocking, then Ling Shi's words at this moment shocked everyone. Silent Soul and Lin Yi didn't target anyone, while Ling Shi directly targeted the short pirate, saying that the short pirate's eyes were annoying. Wasn't that provoking the short pirate? Indeed. Lingling, 5 people in Blessed Realm. They're all annoying. How about we get rid of them all? Lin Yi nodded and agreed with Ling Shi. Then, he looked at Murong Lingling. At this moment, Murong Lingling had already retreated to Lin Ye's side and completely distanced herself from Murong Shio. She didn't need Murong Shio to block the strong enemies for her because she knew Lin Ye's strength. Okay, Murong Lingling was stunned when she heard Lin Ye's words. She could naturally tell that Lin Yi wanted to get rid of Murong Shio as well. Although she didn't know why Lin Yi wanted to get rid of Murong Shio, she knew that Lin Yi didn't want to kill him because of Murong Shio's rudeness. Murong Shio didn't have that right. She nodded without hesitation. Kill him. Lin Yi saw Murong Lingling's agreement. He spoke calmly. As he spoke, he took a step forward and walked toward his room. In the palm of his hand, a jade-green blade of grass appeared. The blade of grass had a mystical spirituality and vitality. Boom! There was an explosion in the air. With Lin Yi as the center, the space within a kilometer radius shattered. 5 huge green vines pierced through the air like divine dragons. In an instant, the 4 Creation Realm pirates on the main ship, including Murong Shio, turned into a bloody screen. Their bodies turned into dust and completely disappeared from the world as if they had evaporated. When the 5 Creation Realm pirates died, the dragon-like green vines disappeared. In Lin Ye's palm, the grass emitted a magical aura as it spun. The sparkling green leaves were even more tempting than before. This was the effect of absorbing the blood essence and cultivation of Creation Realm experts. 5 Creation Realm experts had been absorbed by the green hellish glaze. Although the green hellish glaze would not be able to level up, it was still a great supplement. Dead? On the main ship, other than Luo Bingyue and the other 3 girls, everyone was stunned. Their mouths were so wide open that a fist could be stuffed in. Their eyeballs were about to fly out. They couldn't believe that all of this was real. They thought that what had just happened was an illusion. For a moment, countless people rubbed their eyes, but no matter how they rubbed, the 4 Creation Realm pirates and Murong Shio had indeed disappeared. They had truly disappeared. All of this was real. 5 Creation Realm pirates died, just like that. No one knew how the 5 Creation Realm pirates died. This was because when the 5 Creation Realm pirates died, the space shattered. When the space stabilized, the 5 Creation Realm pirates had already disappeared. No one knew what had happened. However, all of this was definitely related to Lin Yi. Just now, Lin Yi said that he wanted to kill the 5 Creation Realm pirates. With just a simple kill, the space shattered and the 5 Creation Realm pirates disappeared. As you can see, you'd better forget. Otherwise, you'll end up like them. Lin Yi glanced at the crew on the main ship, as well as countless pirate powerhouses. He opened his mouth and said calmly. His tone was completely as if he was talking about something ordinary. However, no one present dared to question Lin Yi's words. With Lin Yi's means, it would be a piece of cake for him to kill anyone present. With that, Lin Yi walked toward the room. Murong Lingling, Luo Bingyue, Silent Soul, and Ling Shi also followed, leaving behind a group of stunned crew members and Murong Cheng. Brother Lin, why did you kill Murong Xiao? Ling Shi came in front of Lin Yi. She looked at Murong Lingling and asked Lin Yi. Although she knew that Lin Yi had his own principles, she still wanted to know why Lin Yi wanted to kill Murong Xiao. She knew that Murong Lingling couldn't ask Lin Yi, so she asked. Murong Xiao wanted to act like a hero, saving a damsel in distress. Lin Yi said with a smile. In one sentence, he revealed the reason why he wanted to kill Murong Xiao. He believed in Murong Lingling and the other 3. With their bright minds, they naturally understood the meaning behind Lin Yi's words. He leaked the news that Sister Lingling returned to heavenly purification territory. It was Murong Xiao. He wanted to show off, so he leaked the information to the pirates. Is that so? Ling Shi was stunned and asked. Chapter 143. That's right. Lin Yi nodded. That was indeed the case, although there was no evidence. However, with his level 44 divine perception, when he scanned the short pirate, he quietly invaded the pirate's mind with his divine perception and obtained this information. He knew that Murong Xiao wanted to be the hero to save the damsel in distress and make Murong Lingling grateful. At that time, he would use some tricks to trick Murong Lingling and enter the Murong family. Of course, after that, he would also give the pirate some benefits. Damn it, Murong Lingling was filled with hatred. This time, if Lin Yi hadn't been with her, she might have really been finished. She didn't expect that Murong Xiao would covet the Murong family, even though the Murong family treated him so well. It's all in the past. Lin Yi smiled and gently squeezed Murong Lingling's hand. Then, he walked back to his room. Murong Lingling and Luo Bingyue followed him in. They chatted for a while and then left separately. The interlude of encountering pirates on the ship quickly passed. They quickly passed through the pirate zone and sailed in the direction of Heavenly Purification Territory. We've finally arrived at Heavenly Purification Territory. I wonder how Linger and Xinger are now. In the main ship's room, Lin Yi finished cultivating. He muttered to himself. After this period of time, his cultivation had reached the peak of the creation realm. More importantly, his sword intent had already reached 70%. His strength had reached a whole new level. Brother Lin, we've arrived at Heavenly Purification Territory. Ling Xi's clear and sweet voice sounded and reached Lin Yi's ears. Lin Yi walked out and nodded. He looked at the endless coastline. There were countless ships and powerhouses on the coastline. This place belongs to the Yuntian Kingdom. It's called Rising Star City, one of the 128 major cities of the Yuntian Kingdom. The most powerful are the Qing family and the Zhang family. Both are 7th-rank families. Murong Lingling explained to Lin Yi. Before going to the Sky Sea realm, he was more familiar with the Yuntian Kingdom. The Murong family wasn't in Rising Star City, but their power extended here. A 7th-rank clan, one level higher than the Heavenly Sea sect. Lin Yi was looking forward to it. A 7th-rank clan was even more powerful than the Heavenly Sea sect. There were definitely many creation realm experts among them. The heavenly purification region is different from the sky-sea realm. You should know that the creation realm is only considered the middle level in the heavenly purification territory. Little brother Lin Yi, why don't you come with me to the Mu Rong family? Mu Rong Lingling raised her beautiful face and looked at Lin Yi. She wanted Lin Yi to go to the Mu Rong family with her. With Lin Yi's talent, he would be able to establish himself in the Mu Rong family. No need. I'll make a trip to the Heaven Sanchuan sect. Lin Yi shook his head. To be honest, if it wasn't for Luo Xing and Luo Ling the Mu Rong family would have been a good place to stay. At least, he would have a place to stay when he first arrived. All right, then. This is the map of the Cloud Sky Kingdom. Mu Rong Lingling pouted. She was extremely disappointed. She wanted Lin Yi to agree, but she knew that Lin Yi would definitely not return to the Mu Rong family with her. She then handed a map to Lin Yi. It was a rough map of the Cloud Sky Kingdom, and it recorded some important cities. Soon the ship docked. Lin Yi, Luo Bingyue, Silent Soul, and Ling Shi left the ship together and headed into the distance. Although they had spent more than a month on the ship, the four of them did not plan to stay in Rising Star City. Heaven Sangshuan City, one of the 128 cities of the Cloud Sky Kingdom. In Heaven Sangshuan City, the most famous sect was naturally the Heaven Sangshuan sect. The Heaven Sangshuan sect was a 6th-rank sect. There was only one 6th-rank force in the entire Heaven Sangshuan City. The rest were either 7th rank or 8th rank, or some small clans. Because the Heaven Sangshuan sect was too powerful, they did not allow a second 6th-rank force to exist in Heaven Sangshuan City. In the Divine Continent, the hierarchy of forces was very strict. A 9th-rank force would have at least one creation stage expert. An 8th-rank force would have at least 10 creation stage experts. A 7th-rank force would have at least one 5th-rank creation stage expert. A 6th-rank force would have at least one 9th-rank creation stage expert. As for 5th-rank forces and above, they would have existences that surpassed the creation stage. They were either descendants of the Saint Realm or had a Saint Realm expert overseeing them. The Heaven Sangshuan sect had tens of thousands of disciples. There were hundreds of creation stage experts. During this period, the Heaven Sangshuan sect became more and more lively. This was because the sect master of the Heaven Sangshuan sect, Dongfang Tongxian, was celebrating his 80th birthday. Countless experts rushed to the Heaven Sangshuan sect to celebrate Dongfang Tongxuan's birthday. Rather than a birthday banquet, it was an opportunity to collect money. One had to know that in Heaven Sangshuan City, the Heaven Sangshuan sect could cover the sky with one hand, and no one dared to not attend. If one was invited and did not attend, they would definitely be remembered by the Heaven Sangshuan sect. Those who were invited were basically people with status in Heaven Sangshuan City, or representatives of clans and sections. On this day, the entire Heaven Sangshuan sect was extraordinarily lively. There were nearly tens of thousands of people attending the birthday banquet. Here, they were all experts of the void refinement and creation stage, and most of them were very powerful. On the Heaven Sangshuan Square, 2,000 tables were set up for the birthday banquet. Congratulations, Sect Master Dongfang. Congratulations, Sect Master Dongfang. Brother Dongfang, congratulations. Congratulations, Brother Dongfang. One by one, experts entered the Heaven Sangshuan sect to congratulate Dongfang Tongxian. At the same time, they also presented generous gifts. Dongfang Tongxian stood in the middle of the square, nodding and greeting the guests who came, his face beaming with joy. As a 5th-rank creation stage expert, he was nothing in Heaven Sangshuan City. But he had the Heaven Sangshuan sect behind him and the old ancestor of the Heaven Sangshuan sect. Looking at the countless experts who came with gifts, Dongfang Tongxian smiled. After a full 2 hours, all the invited experts had arrived. Then, the main guests took their seats, and the female disciples of the Heaven Sangshuan sect served the delicacies, making the birthday banquet extremely lively. Thank you for coming in person. This old man can't thank you enough. Dongfang Tongxian said loudly, his voice rumbling like thunder, spreading across the entire Heaven Sangshuan Square. Although he was 80 years old, he still looked like a middle-aged man who had reached the fifth-rank creation stage. His spirit and vitality were extremely strong, even stronger than those of the younger generation. With that, he downed a spirit wine in his hand in one gulp. It's my honor to be able to attend Sect Master Dongfang's birthday banquet. I wish Sect Master Dongfang's cultivation to reach the next level. Brother Dongfang is too polite. I heard that Brother Dongfang's second son has become a core disciple of the Shengling Heaven Sect. What a double blessing. What? A core disciple of the Shengling Heaven Sect. The Shengling Heaven Sect of the Heavenly Boat City, a top fifth-rank sect. Seeing that Dongfang Tongxian had finished his wine, the guests didn't dare to be rude and also downed their own cups. At the same time, countless congratulatory and polite voices rang out. Gradually, someone told everyone about Dongfang Yu becoming a core disciple of the Shengling Heaven Sect. At once, everyone at the scene was shocked. Most of them were envious. A fifth-rank sect was a colossus. A sixth-rank sect like the Heaven Sangshuan sect couldn't even withstand a single blow from a fifth-rank sect. Chapter 144. Thank you for your compliments. Yuer has indeed become a core disciple of the Shengling Heavenly Sect. Dongfang Tongshuan's face was filled with pride. In the past, he had relied on his ancestor to make many people in the Heavenly Sangshuan sect unconvinced. Now that Dongfang Yu had become a core disciple of the Shengling Heavenly Sect, his status was extraordinary and brought opportunities to the Heavenly Sangshuan sect. The Heavenly Sangshuan sect also relied on the Shengling Heavenly Sect. With Dongfang Yu's existence, those in the Heavenly Sangshuan sect who were unconvinced by Dongfang Tongxian no longer dared to say anything. Young Master Dongfang should be back by now. A 7th-grade sect master had a fawning expression on his face. So what if he was a 7th-grade sect master? He was not worth mentioning in front of 6th-grade sect. Everyone, here's to my father's birthday. I can't thank you enough. A loud and clear voice sounded. A young man in his mid-20s walked out. He was holding a folding fan in his hand. He was elegant and had an otherworldly temperament. There was a confident smile on his face. Beside him was a beautiful girl. She looked worried, but more than that, she was unwilling and helpless. Dongfang Yu, one of the sons of the Heavenly Sangshuan sect master. Greetings, young Master Dongfang. Greetings, young Master Dongfang. Young Master Dongfang is a dragon among men. I hope young Master Dongfang can guide me in the future. Dongfang Yu's appearance immediately made countless experts fawn over him. Even if they did not fawn over him, they did not dare to offend him. One must know that no one dared to offend a core disciple of the Shengling Heavenly Sect. Wasn't that courting death? Well said, well said. Dongfang Yu smiled, full of confidence. As he spoke, he reached out to grab the girl's slender waist. But to everyone's embarrassment, the girl's delicate body flashed and retreated a few steps, causing Dongfang Yu to miss. Dongfang Yu was a manifestation stage expert. The girl was only at the yin-yang stage. The difference in cultivation between the two was like heaven and earth. Logically speaking, the girl should not have been able to dodge Dongfang Yu. But Dongfang Yu did not expect the girl to ruin his mood in public. This made him feel extremely embarrassed. The son of the Heavenly Sangshuan sect master, a core disciple of the Shengling Heavenly Sect. It was indeed embarrassing to be rejected by a girl. For a moment, the expressions of the tens of thousands of experts in the square changed. They all felt pity for the girl's fate. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But so what? This was a world where the strong were respected. If one was weak, one could only be trampled on. There was no dignity to speak of at all. Slap! Dongfang Yu was stunned. He stretched out his hand and slapped him. Instantly, a crisp sound rang out. A palm print appeared on the young girl's beautiful face. The powerful force threw the girl more than 10 meters away. In the end, he fell heavily to the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. Bitch! Dongfang Yu cursed fiercely. Since he dared to embarrass him, he would make him lose his life. Scum! Blood continued to flow from the corner of the girl's mouth, and her face was so swollen that it made one's heart ache. She knew that her fate would be miserable. At this moment, she could no longer suppress the hatred in her heart. If looks could kill, Dongfang Yu would have died countless times. Today is my father's birthday. It's not good to see blood. Lock him up. Dongfang Yu's killing intent rose, but seeing the current situation, he knew that he couldn't act recklessly. After all, this was his father's birthday banquet. He couldn't let the world see that Sangshuan's sect as a joke. Is it not suitable to see blood? Then I'll wash the Sangshuan sect with blood today. When Dongfang Yu finished speaking, two Sangshuan sect disciples stepped forward and were about to lock the girl up. At this moment, an indifferent voice rang out. That voice was filled with endless killing intent. It was bone-piercing cold, causing all the guests present to feel a chill, as if they had fallen into an ice cave. More than that, it was shocking. How arrogant was he to say that he would wash the Sangshuan sect with blood at the sect master's birthday banquet? No one in the entire heavenly firmament city dared to say such a thing. At this moment, everyone's gazes turned towards the direction of the voice. When they saw who it was, all the guests present were dumbfounded. They saw that it was a young man. The young man was ordinary, quiet, and elegant. He gave off a scholarly aura and didn't look like an expert at all. But he was indeed a young man at the 5th level of the yin-yang stage. A young man at the 5th level of the yin-yang stage dared to say that he would wash the Sangshuan sect with blood. Was he not courting death? Boom, countless terrifying, murderous auras erupted from the Sangshuan sect. Anyone who provoked the Sangshuan sect would have to pay a heavy price. Instantly, the murderous auras and auras of countless peerless experts surged towards the young man. Humph! The young man snorted coldly as his aura exploded. His cultivation at the 5th level of the yin-yang stage instantly displayed the aura of the creation stage. And this aura was even stronger than a 5th level creation stage expert. This change shocked all the experts present. Wasn't he at the yin-yang stage? How did he become a creation stage expert? And he wasn't an ordinary creation stage expert. Although his cultivation was only at the peak of the 1st level, his aura was comparable to a 5th level creation stage expert. For a weak young man to be so powerful, it was too heaven-defying. His aura and murderous aura collided with Lin Ye's aura, causing the space to distort. That's right, the young man was Lin Ye. Lin Ye from the Sky Sea realm. He cultivated the 9 divine dragon transformations and the starry sky divine art. So his aura was extremely terrifying. It was even more terrifying than his own strength, and it far exceeded his cultivation level. Wanting to compete with him in terms of aura and pressure was undoubtedly asking for a beating. He had rushed all the way to the Sangshuan sect, but he didn't expect to see the person he was worried about being bullied. For a moment, his killing intent soared. Sir, this is the Sangshuan sect. Today is my birthday banquet, and I don't want to see blood. I wonder if there's a misunderstanding between you and the Sangshuan sect? Dongfang Tongshuan's expression turned solemn. At first, he thought it was just someone who came to discuss the Sangshuan sect. But after seeing Lin Ye's cultivation and strength, this thought no longer existed. More importantly, for a young man to be so heaven-defying, he must have a powerful background. In the heavenly purification territory, anything could happen. Perhaps a seemingly inconspicuous genius was a descendant of a saint. The young man in front of him was only 16 or 17 years old. But his cultivation had reached the peak of the 1st level of the creation stage, and his strength surpassed his cultivation level. Such a monster was also a top existence in the heavenly purification territory. He didn't believe that he didn't have a powerful background. Therefore, his tone became much calmer. He had to figure out the young man's background first. A creation stage expert was nothing, but he was afraid of the faction behind him. It's a misunderstanding. No, I'll give you a choice. Either you cripple that trash from the Shengling heavenly sect yourself, or I'll do it. If I do it, the entire Sangshuan sect will disappear. Lin Ye's eyes were cold. Step by step, he walked towards the center of the square. He directly ignored the countless void refinement and creation stage experts present. He had arrived at the Sangshuan sect a long time ago and didn't intend to be enemies with the Sangshuan sect. But when he saw Luo Linger being bullied, he couldn't tolerate it. Yes, that girl was Luo Linger. What he was worried about was that he hadn't seen Luo Xinger yet. Chapter 145. Young Master Lin. When Luo Ling saw Lin Yi, She couldn't hold it in anymore. Sparkling tears rolled down her cheeks. She felt extremely wronged. She finally found a place to vent her endless grievances. She couldn't care about anything else. Her petite body ran toward Lin Yi. She threw herself into Lin Yi's arms and sobbed. When she arrived at the heavenly purification territory, she knew she had been tricked. She also knew that her life was ruined. But she never thought that Lin Yi would appear. And Lin Yi's cultivation was so powerful that she didn't dare to imagine it. "Okay, I'm here." Lin Yi's hand gently stroked Luo Ling-er's back. He comforted Luo Ling-er and tried to calm her down. His eyes became colder and colder. The more Luo Ling-er acted like this, the stronger his killing intent became. Among the people he knew, Luo Xing-er and Luo Bingyue were almost like family. It would be strange if he wasn't angry when he saw them being wronged. He didn't dare to imagine what kind of inhumane torture Luo Ling-er and Luo Xing would have suffered if he hadn't come to the heavenly purification territory. Young Master Lin Xing-er is in the Shengling heavenly sect. Luo Ling gradually calmed down. When she found herself in Lin Yi's arms, she couldn't help but feel shy. Her beautiful little face blushed. She was extremely worried when she thought of Luo Xing-er. "How is she?" Lin Yi asked with a trace of anxiousness on his face. Judging from Luo Ling-er's appearance and tone, Luo Xing definitely didn't have a good time in the Shengling heavenly sect. Dongfang sent her to the Shengling heavenly sect. Dongfang curried favor with the eldest senior brother of the Shengling heavenly sect. He became a true disciple because of Xing-er. "I don't know the details of Xing-er's situation now," Luo Ling-er said in a low voice. Originally, the two of them had followed Dongfang to the heavenly purification territory, intending to join a powerful sect. They didn't expect Dongfang to have designs on them. In the end, in order to become a true disciple of the Shengling heaven sect, Dongfang introduced Luo Xing-er to the Shengling heaven sect's eldest senior brother. She was also entangled by Dongfang and had no chance to escape. It could be said that there was no path to heaven and no door to hell. Good, very good. The killing intent in Lin Yi's eyes grew stronger and stronger. Let's put aside Luo Xing-er's situation for now. This Dongfang, he must make him pay a painful price. Then, he looked coldly at Dongfang. "Who do you think you are?" "This is the Heaven Sangshuan sect. I'm a true disciple of the Shengling heavenly sect. In this place, you're nothing more than trash. You actually dare to speak such nonsense? You truly do not know the difference between life and death." When Dongfang heard Lin Yi's words, she was fuming with rage. In the Heaven Sangshuan city, he was high and mighty, the moon surrounded by the stars. He went to the Shengling heavenly sect and became a true disciple. When did anyone dare to call him trash? If he could tolerate it, what could he tolerate? Dongfang Tongxian, you better think it through. Lin Yi's gaze shifted to Dongfang Tongxian. Step by step, he walked towards Dongfang Tongxian. The atmosphere of the birthday banquet became incomparably strange. All the guests were quietly watching, and most of them were gloating. Although this young man would die here, he had disgusted the Heaven Sangshuan sect, allowing them to vent their anger. I wonder if there's any misunderstanding between the Heaven Sangshuan sect and you? Do you really think my Heaven Sangshuan sect is easy to provoke? Dongfang Tongxian suspected that Lin Yi had a powerful background and didn't dare to act rashly. However, Lin Yi's actions made him feel ashamed. He was the sect master of a 6th grade force. No one in the entire Heaven Sangshuan city dared to go against him, and now he was being threatened by a young man. Your son abducted my sister, sent her to the Holy Spirit heavenly sect to curry favor with the first senior of the Holy Spirit heavenly sect. That's enough to make him die without a grave. As Dongfang Yu's father, it's the father's fault for not teaching her well, Lin Yi said indifferently. His voice spread across the entire square. All the guests and members of the Heaven Sangshuan sect heard it clearly. Most of the people looked at Dongfang Yu curiously. Although they didn't say anything, they seemed to be laughing at Dongfang Yu. Becoming a true disciple of the Shengling heavenly sect didn't depend on talent or strength, but on some underhanded means. Dongfang Tongxuan's expression was extremely ugly. At first, he was proud to have such a son. But now, this pride had become a joke. Is there such a thing? Dongfang Tongxian looked at Dongfang Yu and asked. He knew that his son had made a trip to the Sky Sea realm, and now he wanted to confirm if this young man's sister was from the Sky Sea realm. If so, then this young man was also from the Sky Sea realm. If he was really from the Sky Sea realm, then this young man would suffer a fate worse than death. A young man from the Sky Sea realm dared to be arrogant in front of the Heaven Sanchuan sect. Didn't he deserve to die? Father, these two bitches tried to curry favor with me, so that I would take them away from the Sky Sea realm. Now they're biting back at me. Dongfang Yu naturally knew what his father meant. He hurriedly explained the origins of Luo Ling, and Luo Xing, But he lied. It wasn't Luo Xing, and Luo Ling are trying to curry favor with him, but he lied to Luo Xing, and Luo Ling, I see. To massacre my Heaven Sanchuan sect, you really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Capture him, don't spoil our fun. Dongfang Tongxuan's face darkened. His tone and expression were completely different from when he first spoke, because he was sure that Lin Yi was from the Sky Sea realm and had no background. Since when did an ant from the Sky Sea realm dare to be so arrogant in the heavenly purification territory? Father, I'll do it myself. A sinister smile appeared on Dongfang Yu's face. The woman that Dongfang Yu fancied not only rejected him and embarrassed him, but was also so close to a youth. Humiliation, a great humiliation. He wanted to grind the youth's bones to dust. A peak second-layer creation realm martial artist naturally wouldn't put a little genius from the Sky Sea realm in his eyes. As he spoke, he walked step by step towards Lin Yi. An imposing aura erupted from his body. The aura of a peak second-layer creation realm martial artist distorted the space. Bitch, I'll give you a chance. Hurry up and come over, or you'll suffer a fate worse than death. Dongfang Yu stopped 20 meters away from Lin Yi and looked coldly at Luo Ling. Although Luo Ling had embarrassed him, he didn't want such a beautiful girl like Luo Ling to die. When the time came, he would ruthlessly torture Luo Ling. What a pity. What a pity that you only have one life. Otherwise, I'll let you die 1,000 times. Lin Yi shook his head. His tone was bone-chilling. His murderous intent was frightening. First, he deceived Luo Xing. Then he sent Luo Xing to the Shengling heavenly sect to curry favor with the experts there. Then he beat up Luo Ling, and now he threatened Luo Ling in front of him. This Dongfang Yu deserved to die 1,000 times. Trash. Who told you to be arrogant? Dongfang Yu looked at Lin Yi and circulated the power of creation. He punched towards Lin Yi. The domineering and destructive fist radiance directly pierced through the space and instantly blasted in front of Lin Yi. If this punch hit, Lin Yi wouldn't survive even if he had 10 lives. Chapter 146. You're courting death. Lin Yi looked at the domineering fist aura rushing towards him. His expression remained unchanged as he threw out a punch as well. Heavenly Emperor Fist, Level 3. The peak of Level 3 was extremely powerful. Suddenly, a fist aura was released. The domineering fist aura was like a king descending to the world. Heavenly Emperor Fist, a saint-level martial technique. There were a total of 6 levels. Lin Yi had already reached Level 3 and was only a step away from Level 4. He, who had reached the creation stage, used the Heavenly Emperor Fist again. Only then did he manage to unleash a portion of the true power of the Heavenly Emperor Fist. Boom, crack, poof, the fist auras collided. The air was distorted. The space was shattered. A crisp sound rang out in the air, followed by the sound of blood spurting out. A figure was thrown out and landed heavily on the ground. The battle ended in 1 round. The tens of thousands of guests were shocked. They looked at the figure that was sent flying. Everyone's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. Their mouths were so wide open that even a fist could be stuffed in. The person who was sent flying was not Lin Yi, but Dongfang Yu, who was at the 2nd level of the creation stage. Dongfang Yu was lying on the ground like a dead dog. Blood kept flowing out of his mouth. One of his arms was shattered and half of his body was destroyed by the domineering fist aura. He couldn't be more dead. The son of the sect master of the Heaven Songchuan sect, a core disciple of the Shengling Heaven sect, and a genius at the second level of the creation stage, was killed by a single punch. Moreover, he was killed by a young man at the first level of the creation stage. He then looked at Lin Yi, who was still standing in the same spot. "You are..." Dongfang Tongxian reacted with a pained expression. Although he had more than one son, Dongfang Yu was one of the best. However, Dongfang Yu was the most outstanding of his many sons and had always been regarded as the junior sect master of the Heavenly Songchuan sect. Once he retired, he would hand over the power to Dongfang Yu. Dongfang Yu was killed in an instant. He didn't even have the chance to save him. "You deserve to die." Dongfang Tongxuan's eyes were red, as if he wanted to eat someone. It was his 80th birthday, and it was a happy thing to collect some resources and wealth. However, he did not expect that on this day, his favorite son would be killed right under his nose. "Old man, you can die now. After living for so long, it's time for him to die." He's shameless enough to hold a birthday banquet. What a disgrace to vast Heaven City. Lin Yi had killed Dongfang Yu. However, the hatred in his heart did not disappear. Seeing Dongfang Tongxuan's killing intent, the killing intent in his heart surged. The true essence in his body circulated, and the power of fortune reached its limit. He pointed a finger at Dongfang Tongxian. Instantly, a hole appeared in the air. Everything in its path turned into nothingness. In an instant, it arrived before Dongfang Tongxian. The power of this finger shocked the experts who were still in a state of shock. Previously, when Lin Yi instantly killed Dongfang Yu, everyone was stunned. Before they could recover from the shock, the power of this finger shocked them once again. Their expressions kept changing as their hearts trembled. Dongfang Tongxian was shocked. The expression on his face became grave. He recovered from the sadness of Dongfang Yu's death. He knew that this young man was too powerful. If he was not careful, he would be at a disadvantage. He watched as the destructive finger power came. Dongfang Tongxian waved his hands, and the space twisted. The powerful power of fortune turned into a ray of light and went toward the finger power. Compared to a level 1 fortune, a level 5 fortune was several levels stronger. As long as there were no accidents, killing a level 1 fortune was a piece of cake. No matter how powerful this young man was, he was only level 1 fortune. Crack! The ray of light formed by the power of fortune clashed with the finger power. The space was shattered for hundreds of meters. Dongfang Tongxuan's expression changed. He could not believe it. His unparalleled power of fortune was no match for the finger power. In an instant, it was penetrated by the finger power. The unparalleled finger power pierced through the ray of the power of fortune and landed on him. Then, the finger power pierced through his body without any resistance. It was like a sharp needle piercing through a piece of tofu. However, the damage caused by the finger power made his heart tremble. The unparalleled finger power quickly spread throughout his body, destroying his meridians and flesh. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face was extremely ugly. What a terrifying finger power. It's definitely a heaven-class martial technique. A level 1 fortune is so powerful. What a heaven-defying monster. Unfortunately, he shouldn't have come to the Heaven Songchuan sect. He killed Dongfang Yu. He can only die with him. In the square, countless guests were shocked when they saw Lin Yi kill Dongfang Yu and injure Dongfang Tongxian. Endless discussions could be heard in the square. Who was Dongfang Yu? He was a genius in the fortune stage, but he was killed in one move. Who was Dongfang Tongxian? He was the sect master of the Heaven Songchuan sect, a level 5 fortune stage elite, but he was injured by this young man in one move. This young man was an unparalleled monster. It was a pity that he shouldn't have come to the Heaven Songchuan sect. There were countless experts in the Heaven Songchuan sect, and even if the old ancestor didn't come out, Lin Yi couldn't escape from the Heaven Songchuan sect. A super monster had fallen in the Heaven Songchuan sect. Heavenly Emperor Fist, Extermination. Although Lin Yi was young, his combat experience was not inferior to any expert. Moreover, as a divine spiritual master, his reaction and thinking were far superior to ordinary people. The moment he used the extermination finger, He had already prepared for the next move and calculated all kinds of situations. It could be said that he had the entire battle in his hands. Even if there was an accident, he would take it into account. Even if there was an accident, he had the means to deal with it and wouldn't be flustered. This was the power of a divine spiritual master. The Starry Sky Divine art was activated, and the peak of the third level of the Heavenly Emperor Fist was unleashed. Rumble, rumble, the power of the Heavenly Emperor Fist was as if the Heavenly Emperor had descended. The space was distorted and destroyed. On the square, all the experts of the Void Refinement stage had already retreated far away, and even some of the powerful Creation stage experts didn't dare to approach, lest they be implicated. Looking at Lin Ye's strength, they were all shocked and ashamed. They had lived for 70 or 80 years, and yet their strength couldn't even compare to a teenager. Universe, heaven, and earth. Boundless lightning. Dongfang Tongxuan's face was ugly. His hands moved quickly, and the most powerful heaven-tier martial technique of the Heaven Songxuan sect was displayed at this moment. However, as soon as he activated his true yuan, blood continued to flow out from the sky. The blood couldn't be stopped at all. The world lost its color at this moment. On the square, thunder rumbled and a storm swept out, blowing countless experts out of the Heaven Songxuan sect. Only a few experts retreated to watch from afar. Boom, in the void, an unparalleled arc of lightning appeared. The arc of lightning was large enough to hug, piercing through space and diving towards Lin Yi. Chapter 147. It was an earth-shattering blow that ruthlessly crushed Lin Ye's body. The domineering Heavenly Emperor Fist was directly shattered. Lin Ye's body burst into a curtain of blood, looking extremely tragic. Immediately after, the ground of the square began to crack rapidly. Lin Ye's body was smashed into the ground by the terrifying force. Dust and ashes soared into the sky, covering the entire square. Lin Ye's body faded out of everyone's sight. Boom, boom, the space was still constantly collapsing. The unparalleled lightning arc crisscrossed the air. That blow shook everyone's mind, and, at the same time, they understood that the foundation of a grade 6 force was indeed powerful. There were not many who could withstand such a powerful martial technique. No one knew what happened to Lin Yi at this moment. Most people thought that Lin Yi had already died, because the endless lightning was too terrifying, directly turning Lin Yi into a curtain of blood. It was impossible for a youngster of the first layer of the manifestation stage to survive. Master Lin, I know you'll be fine. In a corner of the square, Luo Linger's little face was full of worry and even a trace of guilt. If it were not for saving her, Lin Yi would not have been in danger. Now, she was very worried. Although she knew that Lin Yi was very monstrous, and that Lin Yi had reached the manifestation stage in just over a year, a height that she could only look up to. But Lin Yi was still too young, and his cultivation was far from Dongfang Tongxuan's. The dust gradually settled. All the experts stared at the center of the square where Lin Yi was hit. They all wanted to know whether Lin Yi was dead or alive. The square was empty. They did not see Lin Yi's figure. Only death awaits those who provoke my heavenly Songxuan sect. You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Dongfang Tongxian looked at the place where Lin Yi was hit. As time passed, Dongfang Tongxian had already confirmed that Lin Yi had died. This was because he had absolute confidence in the heavenly Songxuan sect's martial techniques and in his own strength. It was as if he had forgotten that Dongfang Yu was dead. This move, that's all. Take my blade. Just when everyone thought that Lin Yi had fallen, Lin Yi's cold voice sounded. Immediately after, a large expanse of destructive saber light erupted from the ground. Unparalleled saber intent soared into the sky, wreaking havoc in the space. The space trembled, as if it was about to collapse and shatter. As his voice faded, Lin Yi's figure appeared. However, Lin Yi didn't seem to be injured at all, other than the fact that his clothes were a little tattered. Seeing this scene, countless people could not help but rub their eyes, thinking that they were seeing things. Previously, he had clearly seen Lin Yi turn into a bloody screen due to his serious injuries, but now Lin Yi was perfectly fine. While a shocking saber light, an unparalleled saber intent. It covered the entire sky. The entire sky above the heavenly Tsangxuan sect was filled with unparalleled destructive blade light. At this moment, the experts and disciples of the heavenly Tsangxuan sect all felt the threat of death. They trembled uncontrollably, their faces filled with despair, and even the creation stage experts revealed a look of fear. At least 60% saber intent. Unparalleled saber intent has increased the power several times. What terrifying saber intent! This saber light should be the pinnacle stage of a heaven-grade martial skill. Strong, too strong. Looking at the unparalleled saber light in the sky and feeling the destructive saber intent, countless guests at the birthday banquet were incomparably shocked. Their expressions changed dramatically, and for a moment, there was a flurry of discussion. At the same time, they quickly retreated, not daring to be covered by the saber light. Bastard, you dare. Hateful little bastard. When the experts of the heavenly Tsangxuan sect saw the saber light, they all knew what Lin Ye's purpose was. Dongfang Tongxian and some elders cursed. The saber light wouldn't destroy them, but it could destroy the other experts and disciples of the heavenly Tsangxuan sect. Those whose cultivation had not reached the creation stage would undoubtedly die. The ultimate blade. Destruction of heaven and earth. Lin Yi hovered in the air, holding the heavenly flame's sacred saber with both hands. The saber slashed down fiercely. This saber had surpassed any previous saber. It was the same ultimate blade, but the difference in power was countless times. First, this saber was an invincible attack. Second, this saber contained 60% saber intent. Third, he had cultivated the tenfold destruction saber to the extreme and had evolved his own saber Dao. In other words, he had exceeded the limits of the tenfold destruction saber and reached the non-existent tenfold power. The tenfold destruction saber didn't have 10 layers, but only 9. Now, Lin Yi had reached the 10th layer, the real tenfold destruction saber. Kacha! Kacha! Everything was destroyed where the saber light passed. Countless experts of the heavenly Tsangxuan sect died. Even many creation stage experts died. Dongfang Tongxian was also shrouded in endless saber light, and countless saber wounds appeared on his body. Blood constantly spurted out, and it was a tragic sight. Countless experts died where the saber light passed. At this moment, Lin Ye's body strangely disappeared. The next moment, Lin Ye had appeared in front of Dongfang Tongxian. He pointed out a finger, and the force of his finger distorted the space. Without the slightest suspense, the finger force fell between Dongfang Tongxuan's eyebrows. Dongfang Tongxuan's eyes were filled with unwillingness and disbelief. Finally, he fell down in despair, and his vitality faded away. The sect master of the heavenly Tsangxuan sect, Dongfang Tongxian, died. He died on his 80th birthday banquet. He died in the hands of a young man. The heavens have the virtue of cherishing life. Today, I'll spare your lives, but you'd better pray that my sister is fine. Otherwise, the entire heavenly Tsangxuan sect won't be spared. The same goes for the Shengling heavenly sect. Remember, my name is Lin Yi. If you want revenge, I'll accompany you at any time. Lin Yi withdrew the heavenly flame's sacred saber and swept his gaze across the remaining experts of the heavenly Tsangxuan sect. He said indifferently, there was no longer a trace of powerful aura on his body. He had returned to the appearance of an ordinary scholar, exuding a scholarly aura. With that said, his figure flashed. Carrying the shocked Luo Linger, he flew out of the heavenly Tsangxuan sect. In the blink of an eye, Lin Ye's figure blurred and finally disappeared, leaving behind the tens of thousands of guests and experts on the square in a daze. Even now, they still couldn't believe what they had seen was real. The heavenly Tsangxuan sect was trampled on. What could it be fake? Although the heavenly Tsangxuan sect is powerful, they have encountered a tough opponent this time. The old ancestor of the heavenly Tsangxuan sect is not here, or else he would have died. This young man is so heaven-defying. The guests and experts on the square stared at each other in bewilderment. There was a flurry of discussion as they were shocked by what they had seen today. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed it was true. A teenager, who looked ordinary, had killed Dongfang Yu, seriously injured Dongfang Tongxian, and destroyed countless experts of the heavenly Tsangxuan sect. Dongfang Tongxian was killed. In less than a moment, countless guests and experts had left the heavenly Tsongshuan sect. They were worried that they would provoke the anger of the old ancestor of the heavenly Tsongshuan sect. Everyone was gone, and the huge square was in a mess. Countless experts and disciples of the heavenly Tsongshuan sect had died, proving the crushing defeat of the heavenly Tsongshuan sect. The joyous birthday banquet had ended up like this. Whoosh, 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 whoosh in the air, Lin Ye's figure pierced through the air like a meteor. Soon, he arrived in front of a mountain range in Tiansong City. Lin Ye didn't hesitate in the slightest. His figure flashed, and he entered the mountain range. Luo Linger didn't know why Lin Yi came to the mountain range, but she didn't ask, because she knew that Lin Yi had his own plans. Besides, Lin Yi was already a powerful manifestation stage expert. He even dared to kill his way in and out of the Tian Tsongshian sect, a grade 6 force. After a moment, Lin Ye's figure came to a stop. Bingwe, landing on the ground, Luo Linger saw a familiar and beautiful figure. Seeing this figure, she immediately recognized who this beautiful figure was. Suddenly, Luo Linger was both happy and a little disappointed. "Are you okay?" Luo Bingwe nodded and looked at Luo Linger. Like an ice goddess, she rarely spoke. But she was very happy to see Luo Linger safely return from the Tian Tsongshian sect. But when she didn't see her sister, her originally cold face became even colder. "I'm fine." Luo Linger knew that Luo Bingyue was worried about Luo Xing She had long been used to Luo Bingyue's coldness. Xing is in the Shengling heavenly sect. Lin Yi spoke. He briefly told her the news he got from Luo Linger. After hearing Lin Ye's words, Luo Bingyue's beautiful face was filled with worry. Her beautiful eyes looked at Lin Yi. Lin Yi was her only support. Only Lin Yi had the chance to save his sister. "Don't worry. I'll save Xing If the Shengling heavenly sect dares to hurt Xing I'll wipe out the entire Shengling heavenly sect." Lin Yi saw that Luo Bingyue was worried and comforted her. Speaking of which, in terms of closeness, he was closer to Luo Xing than Luo Bingyue. Perhaps it was because of Luo Xing's personality. "Where are we going now?" Luo Bingyue nodded. At this moment, there was no time to be anxious. The most important thing now was to find a place to settle down. They couldn't just go to the Shengling heavenly sect. That would be suicide. The Shengling heavenly sect was many times stronger than the Tian Tsongshian sect. It was a true colossus. They could only use their wits and not brute force. "Let's go to the Shengling city. We can't provoke a 5th grade force. However, I can enter a rank 5 force. At that time, even if I kill a disciple of the Saint Spirit heavenly sect, it will only be considered an internal conflict. Moreover, with my current talent, even if I kill a genius of the Saint Spirit heavenly sect, the higher-ups of the Saint Spirit heavenly sect will only turn a blind eye." A profound smile appeared on Lin Ye's face. In the Cloud Sky Kingdom, a 5th grade force was already very powerful. There are no other 5th grade forces near the Shengling heavenly sect. Moreover, only by entering the Shengling heavenly sect could they understand the situation there and have a better chance to save Luo Xing The Shengling city was known as one of the top 10 cities of the Cloud Sky Kingdom. Its prosperity was incomparable to any other city. "You're right. There's a teleportation array in the Shengling city. It can reach the fairy race." Silent Soul's charming voice sounded. That voice was incomparably sweet, causing one's heart to tremble and one's heart to beat faster. Traces of restlessness rose in Lin Ye's heart. She was a natural beauty. Her every move, frown, and smile were incomparably charming. "Oh!" Lin Yi was stunned. He didn't expect there to be such a place. Others didn't know, but he was sure that he had to make a trip to the fairy race or to the heavenly fox race, because the heavenly heart divine fruit was there. Sister Silent Soul is right. It's just that this teleportation array is rarely used. Lingxi also said. Lingxi was a princess in the fairy race. Naturally, She knew many secrets of the fairy race. Then let's go to the Shengling city. Let's settle down in the Shengling city first and find a way to join the Shengling heavenly sect. Lin Yi paused for a moment. He said he was sure that he had to enter the Shengling heavenly sect first. Chapter 149. The Shengling city was one of the top 10 cities in the Heavenly Cloud Kingdom. Within 100,000 miles, there was no other fifth-grade force other than the Shengling heavenly sect. Moreover, the city lord of the Shengling city belonged to the Shengling heavenly sect. The entire Shengling city belonged to the Shengling heavenly sect. Within the Shengling city, every inch of land was worth its weight in gold. A mansion here was easily worth millions or even tens of millions. On this day, a young man and a young woman walked on the main road in front of the Shengling city. Originally, the road outside the Shengling city was filled with strong cultivators at all times. A young man and a woman were not surprising at all. However, this woman became the focus of countless strong cultivators. The woman looked to be in her 20s. She was extremely beautiful and charming. Every frown and smile exuded a seductive aura. She was a natural beauty. On the other hand, the young man beside her looked very ordinary, or rather, very ordinary. The first impression of such a combination was, the woman was the master and the young man was the servant. However, what made people speechless was that the young man was the master and the woman was the servant. In the woman's eyes, the young man was a godlike existence that no one could surpass. A goddess, a true goddess. It's my first time seeing such a beautiful girl. Even the 10 goddesses of the Shengling city are slightly inferior to her. Who is that young man? It seems that the beautiful girl is the young man's servant. How can this be? It's too unreasonable for an ordinary young man to have such a beautiful servant. On the main road, as long as people saw the woman and the young man, they would talk about them. Their gazes towards the woman were filled with shock and greed. Their gazes towards the young man were filled with envy, jealousy, and even killing intent. The young man and woman were naturally Lin Yi and Silent Soul. Lin Yi arranged for Ling Shi, Luo Bingyue, and Luo Ling to cultivate in the ninefold space. He took Silent Soul and flew towards the Shengling city. Among the women, Silent Soul's cultivation was the highest. She was only one step away from the creation realm. Master in the Shengling city. There are people from the Heavenly Fox clan. Take a look, Silent Soul said as they walked. After saying that, her beautiful and alluring face looked at Lin Yi. There were also members of the Heavenly Fox clan in the Holy Spirit City. If Lin Yi agreed to stay in the Heavenly Fox clan's mansion in the Holy Spirit City, it would be much more convenient. However, if Lin Yi did not want to go, she would have to find another place. Just make the arrangements, Lin Yi said with a faint smile. Thank you, young master. Silent Soul was overjoyed to hear Lin Yi's words. There was even a hint of joy in his heart. As the two of them spoke, they arrived before the city gate and successfully entered the Holy Spirit City. The Saint Spirit City was bustling with experts. On both sides of the clean bluestone streets were shops owned by martial artists. The degree of prosperity was many times greater than the Sky Sea City or even the Sky Azure City. After Silent Soul found out the location of Sky Spirit Pavilion, he brought Lin Yi there. Lin Yi knew that Sky Spirit Pavilion was where the Heavenly Fox clan stayed in the Holy Spirit City. Your Highness, why did you come to the Holy Spirit City? Soon, Lin Yi and Silent Soul arrived at Sky Spirit Pavilion. The Heavenly Spirit Pavilion was a huge mansion. It was many times larger than other mansions. The one who welcomed Silent Soul was an old man in his 50s, level 5 creation realm. When the old man saw Solitary Spirit, he couldn't help but be shocked. His face revealed a curious and surprised expression. He never thought that the princess would actually appear in the Holy Spirit City. When his eyes swept past Lin Yi, it was just a glance. However, the old man's eyes showed a hint of curiosity. He did not know why the princess brought an ordinary young man. Hearing the old man call Silent Soul Princess, Lin Yi's face was calm. He was not surprised at all. When he first met Silent Soul, Biluo could roughly guess Silent Soul's identity. In the Heavenly Fox clan, Silent Soul's status must be very high. That was natural. Nine-tailed Heavenly Fox. In the Heavenly Fox clan, only one would appear every million years. In the Heavenly Fox clan, Silent Spirit was an existence similar to a saintess. The Sky Sea realm is not fun anymore. That's why I came to the Holy Spirit City. Silent Soul's beautiful face had a smile. She walked towards Sky Spirit Pavilion. At this moment, she was completely different from before. Now, she was a naughty fox. Your Highness, don't you know that young Master Long is also in the Holy Spirit sect? The old man's face showed a worried expression. He said to Silent Soul. However, when he finished speaking, he realized that Silent Soul was already in Sky Spirit Pavilion. He did not know if the princess heard him. Seeing this, the old man could not help but shake his head. He glanced at Lin Yi and followed. Lin Yi looked at Silent Soul's back and revealed a faint smile. This beauty actually had such a naughty and lively side. It seemed that this was her true personality. However, when he thought of the young Master Long that the old man mentioned, he could not help but pay attention. Uncle Yin, tell me about Long Yunting. We haven't seen each other for a few years, and you still haven't given up. Silent Soul gestured for Lin Yi to sit down and said. At this moment, he did not want to expose his relationship with Lin Yi. Instead, he was curious about the Half-Dragon clan's young master. Long Yunting is now one of the top 10 true disciples of the Holy Spirit sect. Ninth level of the creation realm. His strength is terrifying. Uncle Yin shook his head helplessly. In terms of talent, Long Yunting was not as good as Silent Soul. However, Long Yunting was already at the 9th level of the creation realm, and Silent Soul was only at the 9th level of the void refinement realm. They were worlds apart, and Long Yunting had his eyes on Silent Soul. Silent Soul had been avoiding Long Yunting, and in the end, he did not hesitate to run to the Sky Sea realm. However, he could not figure out why the princess would come to the Holy Spirit City. Could it be that she was going to agree to Long Yunting's request? Uncle Yin, we want to enter the Holy Spirit sect. Is there a way? Silent Soul could not help but be shocked when he heard that Long Yunting had reached the 9th level of the creation realm. He was even more solemn. If he encountered Long Yunting, the young master would not be Long Yunting's match. At least, he would not be Long Yunting's match in a short period of time. As she spoke, her beautiful eyes looked at Lin Yi. However, she did not see anything from Lin Yi's face. From the beginning to the end, Lin Yi was extremely calm. Even when he heard that Long Yunting was at the 9th level of the creation realm, Lin Yi's expression did not change at all. It's naturally easy for the princess to enter the Holy Spirit sect. However, it's impossible for him to enter the Holy Spirit sect. Uncle Yin was stunned. With the princess's talent, it was naturally easy for her to enter the Holy Spirit sect. It was impossible to get an ordinary youth like Lin Yi into the Shengling Heavenly Sect. The Shengling Heavenly Sect only accepted geniuses and monsters. He did not have the intention to look down on Lin Yi. It was mainly because Lin Yi's performance was too ordinary. Chapter 150. Is there no other way? Silent Soul asked. She naturally wouldn't expose Lin Yi's talent and strength so easily. It would be best if she could find a way to enter the Shengling Heavenly Sect. There is. The Shengling Heavenly Sect has an arena battle every month. This arena battle is also a battle of life and death. If you can win all 5 battles, you will receive an invitation letter from the Shengling Heavenly Sect and become a disciple. At the same time, you will also have a chance to challenge a true disciple. Uncle Yin said neither quickly nor slowly. He was curious about why the princess was so concerned about this young man. Normally, a proud girl like the princess wouldn't get too close to ordinary people. Even if the other party was a super genius, the princess would at most be a little polite. But now, the princess was obviously very concerned about this young man entering the Shengling Heavenly Sect. All right then, I'll go take a look at the arena battle. Lin Yi didn't seem to care. The rules of the arena battle were more or less the same. 5 battles, 5 victories. His first opponent's cultivation was similar to his. The later opponent's cultivation was getting stronger and stronger. Uncle Yin, this month's arena battle. When will it start? Will there be a lot of people participating? Silent Soul asked Uncle Yin. She knew that Lin Yi didn't care, but she had to make things clear so that Lin Yi wouldn't be taken advantage of. This was part of her job. She couldn't help Lin Yi in cultivation and battle. She had to help Lin Yi in other aspects. She could also prove her value by Lin Yi's side. There are 3 more days until the end of this month. Not many people are participating, but those who are participating are all very strong. This is one of the methods the Shengling Heavenly Sect uses to recruit disciples. Similarly, this kind of arena battle can make a lot of money. The spectators have to buy tickets. This is something that can be done in one fell swoop. Uncle Yin looked at Lin Yi. He couldn't help but be surprised, but more than that, he was curious. He didn't know what this young man was capable of, but he didn't seem to care. Could it be that he had misjudged him? Uncle Yin, I'll leave this matter to you. Let's go to the arena in 3 days. Silent Soul said seriously. His tone left no room for doubt. Although her cultivation was not as high as Uncle Yan's, her status was not something that Uncle Yin could compare with. As the princess of the Heavenly Fox clan, she was naturally superior. All right, after entering the Shengling Heavenly Sect, don't provoke the 10 true disciples. Even the people around them were provoked. Uncle Yin wasn't dissatisfied with Silent Soul's orders. However, he reminded Silent Soul not to mess with the top 10 true disciples of the Saint Spirit Heaven Sect. As for Lin Yi, he completely ignored him because Lin Yi would never become a disciple of the Saint Spirit Heaven Sect. Then, he had people bring Lin Yi and Silent Soul to settle down. However, he left the Heavenly Spirit Pavilion alone. The Shengling Heavenly Sect was a grade 5 superpower. In the entire Cloud Sky Kingdom, they were one of the strongest forces. There were 3 grade 4 forces in the Cloud Sky Kingdom. Among the 3 grade 4 forces, one was a royal family, and the other 2 were related to the royal family. It could be said that the 3 grade 4 forces were the official forces of the Cloud Sky Kingdom. Therefore, grade 5 forces were the strongest in the Cloud Sky Kingdom. Heaven Ascension Peak was one of the 10 peaks of the Shengling Heavenly Sect. In the Shengling Heavenly Sect, there were 10 peaks that towered in the clouds. Every peak was occupied by a true disciple of the Shengling Heavenly Sect. The peak was occupied by a peak master of the Shengling Heavenly Sect. He commanded the peak, which was also the peak master. However, the peak master of the Heaven Ascension Peak was not occupied by the peak master of the Shengling Heavenly Sect. The peak master of the Heaven Ascension Peak was occupied by a genius in the creation realm. He was also the number 1 genius of the Shengling Heavenly Sect, the eldest senior brother, Ling Tianli. Ling Tianli was a genius with a saintly body. Ling Tianli was in the 9th level of the creation realm. Ling Tianli had once killed a celestial realm expert. Ling Tianli had once walked out of the nether purgatory. Ling Tianli was known as one of the top 10 geniuses of the Cloud Sky Kingdom. Ling Tianli. There were countless legends about Ling Tianli. His existence was like a myth. He was the idol of countless geniuses. Although he was only 30 years old, he stood at the peak of the creation realm and was on equal footing with countless seniors. Even many seniors who had lived for 100 or 200 years were not as good as him. He was the first peak master of the creation realm in the Shengling Heavenly Sect for thousands of years. Sister, brother-in-law, where are you? Shinger misses you. On Heaven Ascension Peak, in a secluded pavilion. A beautiful girl sat in the pavilion, holding her chin with her slender hand and speaking softly. The girl was wearing a black dress and was as beautiful as a goddess. However, her beautiful face was full of worry. She was on the Heaven Ascension Peak, but her heart was not there. She missed her sister and brother-in-law. However, this place was thousands of miles away from her hometown. It was like a natural moat. She might not be able to see them again in her life. Since she followed Dongfangyu to the heavenly purification territory, Dongfangyu introduced her to Ling Tianli, the eldest senior brother of the Shengling Heavenly Sect. Ling Tianli was absolutely invincible. He also liked her very much. However, she had no feelings for Ling Tianli. There was a figure in her heart. That figure was thin. He didn't even look like a warrior at all. It would be more accurate to say that he was a scholar. However, there was no room for anyone else in her heart except for him. Ling Tianli doesn't give me much time. What should I do when he reaches the celestial being realm? The girl was Luo Xing. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but feel agitated. Ling Tianli was a peerless genius and also liked her. Although he didn't force her, he gave her a limited time to consider. When he reached the celestial being realm, it would be the time for Luo Xing to say yes. Luo Xing knew that even if she didn't say yes, it was not up to her. Alas, with a sigh, she began to cultivate. Only by cultivating could she kill time. North City, Shengling City. It was one of the favorite places for the strong to come, because it was a marketplace where one could buy all kinds of resources and items needed by the strong. The strong who came here, in addition to buying resources, had another purpose, which was to enter the underground fighting arena to watch the fights between the strong. However, to enter the underground fighting arena, one had to buy tickets. Each ticket cost 1,000 spiritual stones. Watching was one of the reasons. Betting was another. When the strong fought, the spectators would bet on the winner. In the Shengling Heaven sect, the monthly arena fighting arena was held in the underground fighting arena. At the end of every month, countless strong people came to watch the arena fighting arena. Old Yin, is he the person you gave the arena fighting arena to? I say, Old Yin, are you joking? In the secret room of the underground fighting arena, Uncle Yin appeared in the secret room with Silent Soul and Lin Yi. In the secret room, a tall old man with white hair and beard had been waiting for a long time. He saw that the strong person Uncle Yin introduced to the arena fighting arena was a young man wearing a silver mask. Although he was wearing a mask, he could see the young man's age. For a moment, the old man couldn't help but be stunned. He said to Uncle Yin, Chapter 151. Brother Wong isn't joking. Do you think I can fool you with this kind of thing? Uncle Yin shook his head and said, he wasn't confident either. If it wasn't for the princess's insistence, he wouldn't have introduced an ordinary youth to the arena battle. It was almost a joke. He didn't know how to deal with Wang Linza of the Holy Spirit Heaven sect. The person in charge of the arena battle was Elder Wang Linza. He was the elder of the Holy Spirit Heaven sect, Wang Linza, who was the white-haired old man in front of him. However, those who participate in the arena battle have to be at least at the fortune realm. You know the rules without saying. Wang Linza bitterly smiled. He had a good relationship with Uncle Yin. Since Uncle Yin asked him, he couldn't reject him. However, those who participate in the arena battle have to be at least at the fortune realm. Understood. When Uncle Yin heard Wang Linza's words, he looked at Lin Yi. He didn't know Lin Yi's cultivation level. However, he still didn't believe that Lin Yi had reached the fortune realm. Even Her Highness the Princess had not reached the blessed realm, much less an ordinary young man. He was definitely not in the blessed realm, so he hoped that Lin Yi would retreat in the face of difficulty. I can participate in the arena battle, regardless of life or death, Lin Yi said lightly. Under the mask, his expression was calm, without any ripples. The reason why he wore a mask was because he didn't want everyone to know his identity. Others wanted fame, but he didn't want that kind of fame. If he really wanted to be famous, he had countless methods and methods. Next, Lin Yi signed a life or death contract. As long as he entered the arena, he would die regardless of life or death. You should prepare first. The first battle is yours. Wang Linza shook his head and said. He looked at Lin Yi like he was looking at a dead man. He was curious why old Yin would send a youth to his death, and why would this youth agree to the life or death arena battle? Was there something wrong with this youth's brain? Uncle Yin, let's go outside. Silent Soul nodded at Lin Yi. Then he turned around and left the secret chamber. She knew Lin Yi's strength. He was at the peak of the first tier of the blessed realm. Even if he faced someone at the fifth tier of the blessed realm, his life would not be in danger. If one were to ask about Lin Yi's greatest ability, it would be his ability to survive. After Silent Soul and Uncle Yin left, Lin Yi closed his eyes and rested, waiting for the battle to begin. To him, this was nothing more than a practice. Time passed by, second by second. Finally, Wang Lin appeared in the secret chamber. "It's your turn," Wang Lin faintly said. As he spoke, a jade appeared in his hand. The jade slip emitted a blinding light. The light swirled, and a space-time gate appeared. Only this space-time gate was a very simple one. It was a short-distance teleportation array that used a jade slip as a primer to tear through space and teleport people to a fixed location. Lin Yi didn't hesitate and took a step forward. When he reappeared, he had already entered the space-time gate's teleportation array. Whoosh! In a twinkling, Lin Yi left the teleportation array and appeared on a deserted island. Surrounding the deserted island was a boundless sea. On this deserted island, a ferocious-looking man was already waiting. Peak second rank creation realm. In his hand, there was a long blade that emitted an evil aura. The two of them were 200 meters apart, looking at each other from afar. They weren't in a hurry to attack. The underground fighting arena was a huge square. However, there were countless seats in the square. There were nearly 1,000,000 trapezoidal seats, and the trapezoidal seats ensured that everyone could see the battle in the arena. However, there was no one in the arena. There was only a sphere of light that was 100 meters in diameter. Inside the sphere of light was a small independent world. This sphere of light was actually a projection. The people fighting weren't here, but the sphere of light was showing the situation of the battle without reservation. It has to be said that the people fighting in the arena were all creation realm experts. When the battle started, it would destroy the heavens and the earth. It was obviously unrealistic to have a battle in the arena. The projection of the sphere of light was very mysterious. The scene of the battle inside gave people the feeling that they were there. Even the spectators outside could feel the domineering aura and pressure of the experts inside. I heard that the first battle is Shui Tuesday. Shui Tu is a famous person in the underground arena. He has fought 47 battles and survived all 47 of them. That's right. Although he is only at the second rank of creation realm, he has killed someone at the third rank of creation realm. I wonder who will be his opponent this time? Those who bet will definitely bet on Shui Tuesday. I bet 10,000 spirit stones on Shui Tuesday. In the underground arena, countless experts were discussing the battle. There was a crystal beside the sphere of light. On the crystal was the information and history of the experts in this battle. The appearance of Shui Tu's name caused countless experts to discuss. Place your bets. You have 7 minutes. If you want to place your bets, please place your bets quickly. On the high platform, not far away from the crystal, Wang Lin spoke loudly. His loud voice spread throughout the underground arena through the sound amplification stone. The moment Wang Lin finished speaking, Shui Tu's large figure appeared on the deserted island. His tyrannical and evil aura rushed toward the countless spectators. After Shui Tu appeared, a skinny youth with a mask appeared. The youth wore a silver mask and didn't have the aura of an expert. He looked like a normal person with the aura of a scholar. On the information, it was written, "Masked Youth, peak of the first rank of creation realm." What is going on? A first rank of creation realm youth fighting Shui Tu? The underground arena must be joking. Isn't this cheating us of our tickets? Shui Tu will definitely kill him with one strike. Everyone must be betting on Shui Tu's victory. Is the underground arena going to give everyone spirit stones? There are more than 100,000 spectators in the underground arena. After seeing the information and person of the first opponent, they immediately went into an uproar. This kind of opponent was completely unbalanced. Shui Tu's strength was unrivaled among those of the same cultivation level. However, his opponent today was only a youth at the first level of the blessed realm. For a moment, everyone's interest in watching the match was waning. Bets are over. Wang Lin didn't care about the discussions and uproar of the countless spectators. The Holy Soul Heaven sect didn't care about what anyone said. Of course, a giant dragon wouldn't care about ants. Every time an ant talks about a giant dragon, the giant dragon would argue with the ant. "Brat, you're here to die." On the deserted island, the ferocious man looked at Lin Yi. He revealed a disdainful smile. "Take out your strongest attack. Otherwise, you won't have the chance to regret it," Lin Yi lightly said. His hands were behind his back. The peak of the second rank of creation realm was indeed powerful, but he wasn't someone to be trifled with. You're courting death. The ferocious man was startled and couldn't help but become furious. The evil blade in his hand viciously chopped toward Lin Yi. Suddenly, hundreds of destructive blade energies cut through the air and rushed toward Lin Yi. On the deserted island, the space trembled and shattered. Close to 100,000 spectators were all in a state of shock. That saber strike could destroy the heavens and the earth. Using his palm as a substitute for a saber was already so powerful. If he used a spiritual weapon or a holy weapon, it was hard to imagine how powerful it would be. They never thought that the thin and weak young man would be able to kill Xue Tu with one strike. From the way the youth shook his head and sighed, it could be seen that the youth disdained Xue Tuesday. What a terrifying saber. It definitely surpasses a peerless heaven-tier martial skill. It's not a saint-tier martial skill, but he has cultivated his saber intent to the 7th level. First tier of the blessed realm and 70% saber intent. He is indeed monstrous. Xue Tu was at the peak of the 2nd tier of the blessed realm. I didn't think that a first-tier blessed realm cultivator would be able to kill him with one strike. This young man with the silver mask is too terrifying. I bet on Xue Tuesday. That's 1,000,000 spirit stones. His strength is about the same as a 3rd-tier blessed realm cultivator. If it was Ling Jian, he would also be killed with one strike. Ling Jian. Indeed, although Ling Jian is only at the peak of the 2nd tier of the blessed realm, his strength is terrifying. No one has ever seen him use the 2nd strike. All of them have been killed by one strike. In the underground arena, the shocked spectators gradually regained their senses. They never thought that a young man of the 1st tier of the blessed realm would be so powerful. He was able to kill the powerful Xue Tu with one strike and cause them to lose a lot of money. Of course, although they lost a lot of money, it was worth it to be able to see such an exciting battle. However, they didn't know what the face behind the silver mask looked like. The first battle is over. The second battle will begin in half an hour. If you want to place your bets, please think twice. Wang Lin loudly said, "Let's go." After he finished speaking, he left the underground arena and walked toward the secret chamber. He also wanted to see the young man with the silver mask. He originally thought that he was here to die, but now he understood that he wasn't here to die. He was a true monster, the kind that defied the heavens. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to kill Xue Tu with one strike. This kind of strength was above average in the Holy Soul Heaven sect. More importantly, this young man was very young. To be so heaven-defying at such a young age, his future was limitless. Whoosh, a soft sound came from the secret chamber. Light appeared, and Lin Yu walked out from the spatial gate. Since he was wearing a mask, his expression couldn't be seen. However, he looked very calm and collected. The first battle was very easy. He didn't even use the heavenly flame sacred blade. Not bad. Do you want to start the second battle? Wang Lin walked into the secret room, looked at Lin Yi, and spoke. Wang Lin, who was very arrogant, rarely praised anyone. This time, he was truly praising a young genius. As long as this young genius had time, he could become a peerless expert. However, the prerequisite was that he had to experience countless life and death situations. For example, if he won 5 battles in a row in the underground arena, he would receive an invitation from the Holy Soul Heaven sect. If he died in the underground arena, no matter how monstrous he would just be a dead man. 5 battles in a row. Lin Yi nodded. He didn't want to waste time here. If he won 5 battles, he would receive an invitation from the Holy Soul Heaven sect and become a member of the Holy Soul Heaven sect. Confidence is a good thing. However, blind confidence will lead to eternal damnation. Wang Lin heard Lin Ye's words. He was a bit unhappy. He had seen many geniuses. He had seen many arrogant ones. However, this was the first time he had seen someone as arrogant and confident as this young man. Moreover, this young man was blindly confident. Such a genius would die quickly. With that, he left the secret chamber. Soon, the light from the transfer array appeared again. Lin Yi didn't hesitate and stepped in. When he appeared again, he was in a desert. He was already in a desert. The scorching sun was raging and the yellow sand was boiling hot. Lin Yi stood in the middle of the desert, quietly waiting. This time, it wasn't like last time where someone was waiting for him. He arrived first and waited for his opponent to appear. He was a bit curious. He didn't know what kind of opponent the underground arena would arrange for him. However, in the life and death arena, there wouldn't be an opponent with a cultivation level higher than 3 unless both sides agreed. Hiss, in less than a moment, a soft sound came from space. Chapter 153. The second battle. It's him again. I'll bet on him for this battle. I wonder who his opponent will be in the second battle. In the underground arena, a desert world appeared on the light screen. The moment the desert appeared, a young man with a silver mask appeared at the same time. Seeing this young man, countless experts in the underground arena were shocked, and the sound of discussion was endless. Soon, in the desert, an earth-shattering sword intent descended. The sword intent swept through the yellow sand, and the entire desert trembled. At the same time, a ray of sword light pierced through the air. A young man holding a long sword appeared in the desert. The young man had an unparalleled sword intent. The earth-shattering sword intent just now was emitted from his body. His entire person was almost one with the sword. Ling Jian. It's Ling Jian. This is going to be interesting. Ling Jian. Will he kill that silver-masked young man in one strike? I wonder if Ling Jian will use his sword this time. In the underground arena, there were close to 100,000 experts watching the battle. Seeing the young man appear, they were all shocked. The entire arena was filled with Ling Jian's name. In the underground arena, Ling Jian was simply a miracle, invincible among his peers. In many of the battles, he didn't even use his sword and killed his opponents. Ling Jian, Ling Jian, Ling Jian, the cheers were endless. Countless geniuses looked as if they saw their idol. Their eyes were filled with admiration and respect. At this moment, countless experts who were prepared to bet on the silver-masked young man did not hesitate to choose to bet more on Ling Jian. Because in their eyes, Ling Jian could bring them huge wealth and absolute victory. They even guessed that Ling Jian could kill the silver-masked young man without using his sword. In other words, Ling Jian could kill the silver-masked young man in one strike, just like how the silver-masked young man killed Xue Tu in one strike in the last battle. Your Highness, do you think he can win against Ling Jian? Uncle Yin turned his head and looked at Silent Soul beside him. He asked Silent Soul, because from the beginning to the end, Silent Soul did not show any signs of worry. Could it be that the princess had confidence in this seemingly ordinary young man? Or did the princess not care about this young man's life and death? He couldn't help but be curious. Uncle Yin, you'll know when you see. A faint smile appeared on Solitary Spirit's face. Her smile was like a spring breeze caressing her face. She would still be worried for Lin Yi if it was any other powerful practitioner or someone above the 5th level of the creation stage. However, as long as the opponent cultivation had not reached the 5th level of the creation stage, she was not worried at all. After saying that, her beautiful eyes looked at the image above the light barrier. You shouldn't have come to the arena. Ling Jian's cold voice sounded. That voice was as cold as the sword in his hand. His entire being was filled with awe-inspiring sword intent, like a divine sword that stood proudly between heaven and earth. With him as the center, the area within a radius of several miles was filled with unparalleled sword intent. Moreover, the sword was becoming more and more overbearing. The yellow sand of the desert rolled over and over, and the killing intent was chilling. You use a sword. What a pity, Lin Yi said indifferently. His entire being was incomparably calm. There wasn't even the slightest fluctuation of emotion. With his hands behind his back, he walked slowly towards Ling Jian, as though he was walking in his own backyard, completely ignoring Ling Jian's sword intent. 70% sword intent was extremely overbearing. If it was any other powerful practitioner facing such a sword intent, the sword intent alone would be able to severely injure them. Boom! 70% sword intent against a 70% blade intent. The blade intent and sword intent clashed. There was a destructive explosion in the space, and yellow sand flew everywhere. Ling Jian's body swayed, and he took a step back. When he saw that Lin Yi was moving forward as usual and was not affected at all, he could not help but be shocked. They were both at 70%, but he was crushed by Lin Yi. Immediately, the expression on his face changed. Without hesitation, he unsheathed his sword and slashed towards Lin Yi. In an instant, the sky changed color. Unparalleled sword intent, unparalleled sword light, and sword gleam. It pierced through space and blasted towards Lin Yi. This sword was like a flying immortal, peerless, and unparalleled. At the same time, the power of the sacred artifact on the sword distorted space and merged with the sword gleam, increasing its power by several times. Ultimate slash. Lin Yi moved his mind, and the Skyflame's sacred saber appeared at his hand. He slashed out with the Skyflame sacred saber. Ultimate slash. This was the true ultimate. It was an existence that surpassed the 9th grade. Suddenly, the power of the sacred artifact and the unparalleled sword gleam blasted towards Ling Jian's sword gleam. At this moment, there were two worlds in this desert. One was a world of sword gleams, filled with destructive sword intent. The other was a world of sword gleams, filled with awe-inspiring sword intent. The sword was the king of all weapons. The sword was the king of all weapons. At this moment, the two super geniuses used their 70% sword intent to slash out the sword gleam and the sword gleam. This battle was a showdown between the sword and the sword. Boom! Crack! Crack! Space cracked. Heaven and earth distorted. The sword gleam and the sword gleam constantly clashed. For a moment, there was no clear winner. There were nearly 100,000 strong practitioners watching the battle in the underground arena. At this moment, they all held their breaths and stared at the light shield. They were shocked. This was a battle between a genius and a strong practitioner. They did not expect that the young man with the silver mask would be strong enough to fight with Ling Jian. Your Highness, the friend that you know is indeed powerful. What do you think are his chances of winning? Uncle Yin was shocked. It was only now that he understood that the seemingly ordinary young man was a true super genius. The princess had a good eye. To be able to fight with Ling Jian to a standstill, such a person was definitely a genius. In this world, no one knows the sword better than him. Silent Soul did not say Lin Yi's chances of winning, but he said something that carried a lot of weight. If Uncle Yin did not know that the princess would not lie, he would not have believed what Silent Soul said. Because Lin Yi was not using a sword, but a sword. His opponent was a super genius in the way of the sword. To say that a genius in the way of the sword was a genius in the way of the sword, he naturally would not believe it. Boom! In the desert, the explosion finally stopped. In the endless sand, sword gleams and sword gleams. A figure walked out. The thin young man with the silver mask was the first to walk out from the center of the destruction. Seeing this scene, the strong practitioners watching the battle in the underground arena were shocked, because the young man with the silver mask did not have any injuries on his body. He was calm and collected, with a confident smile on his face and his hands behind his back. He walked slowly, as if he was taking a stroll in his own backyard. Pucci. After the young man with the silver mask walked out, in the center of the destruction, there was the sound of blood spurting out. After the sand settled and the sword gleams dissipated, Ling Jian's figure appeared in the sight of all the strong practitioners. However, Ling Jian's current situation was not good. Not good at all. The long sword in Ling Jian's hand was stuck on the ground. His whole body relied on the support of the long sword to not fall. His face was filled with disbelief and unwillingness. Blood kept flowing out from the corner of his mouth. Chapter 154. Ling Jian raised his head with difficulty and looked at Lin Yi. His eyes were full of unwillingness and disbelief. In the battle just now, he discovered one of Lin Yi's secrets. That was, the strongest thing about his opponent was not his saber intent, but his sword principle. He was obviously a saber genius. How could he be a sword principle genius? He understood this battle. In front of this young man, his sword intent was too weak. Have you seen the divine sword constitution? You shouldn't use a sword in front of me. Lin Yi looked at Ling Jian with a faint smile. His divine thought condensed into sound waves and transmitted his voice to Lin Ye's ears through secret voice transmission. Although he didn't achieve the true divine sword constitution, it was 1/3 of the divine sword constitution. That was enough for him. I see. Ling Jian heard Lin Ye's voice transmission. The expression on his face kept changing. As a sword principle genius, he had never heard of the divine sword constitution. However, just the words divine sword and divine constitution were destined to be extraordinary. With such a constitution, he was definitely the most demonic existence in sword principle. Using a sword in front of him was indeed showing off in front of an expert. As soon as he finished speaking, his vitality quickly faded. In less than 3 breaths, Ling Jian's vitality was completely gone. He couldn't be more dead. Whoosh, a ray of light swept through Lin Yi. Lin Yi disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already in the secret chamber. The 100,000 spectators in the underground fighting arena were all in shock. Ling Jian. He was a truly invincible expert of the same level. However, they didn't expect him to die in the hands of the silver-masked young man so quickly. They didn't know how Ling Jian died. However, Ling Jian had indeed died. When they heard Ling Jian's last words, they were all extremely curious, because they knew what Lin Yi said to Ling Jian through secret voice transmission. They all wanted to know what Lin Yi said. Even Ling Jian is no match for him. A first-tier creation realm cultivator can be so powerful. What a monster! You can't judge a book by its cover. Life is unpredictable. I placed my bets twice, and both times I was overturned by him. I've lost so badly. If he still wants to fight, I'll bet on him even if I lose. Today, I lost 2 million spirit stones. I wonder which clan he is from. He must have come here to train. The underground fighting arena was bustling with noise and excitement. There were close to 100,000 spectators. 2 battles. Nearly 99% of the experts lost both bets. Because they didn't believe in Lin Yi, they didn't bet on Lin Yi. However, in both battles, Lin Yi had won completely. It was almost an instant kill. The powerhouses in the underground fighting arena had not expected that they would lose 4 matches in a row on this day. Lin Yi had fought 5 battles in a row. In the first 4 battles, the opponents that appeared made nearly 100,000 experts think that Lin Yi would lose without a doubt. Thus, they had placed their bets on others, causing them to lose 4 battles in a row. In the last match, Lin Yi met a powerhouse at the peak of the 3rd level of the creation realm. With the experience of losing bets in the previous battles, almost all the experts placed their bets on Lin Yi in the 5th battle. In the hearts of all the experts, Lin Yi was invincible. In the 5th battle, Lin Yi also defeated his opponent with 1 move. It was also the ultimate blade. Congratulations on winning 5 battles. This is an invitation from the Holy Spirit Heaven sect. Do you want to join the Holy Spirit Heaven sect? In the secret chamber, Wang Lin had a smile on his face, but his heart was still in shock. He didn't expect this youth to be so monstrous. Wang Lin was a peerless expert. He saw that Lin Ye's monstrous talent was not just the ultimate blade, but his overall strength. This was because he had never seen Lin Ye's true strength. In other words, Lin Yi had won 5 battles and hadn't shown his true strength at all. The more this was the case, the more it showed how monstrous this youth's talent was. This kind of monstrous talent naturally had to be pulled into the Holy Spirit Heaven sect. Of course, I want to join the Holy Spirit Heaven sect. I heard that there are many geniuses in the Holy Spirit Heaven sect. Lin Yi took off his mask and said with a smile. A rank 5 force was one of the top forces in the Cloud Sky Kingdom. Although it wasn't a big backer, at least he wasn't alone for now. More importantly, he had to enter the Holy Spirit Heaven sect to save Luo Xing and not let Luo Xing be bullied. If Luo Xing was bullied, he would massacre the entire Holy Spirit Heaven sect. Hee. Welcome to the Holy Spirit Heaven sect. Wang Lin chuckled. A trace of disdain appeared in his heart. It wasn't that he looked down on Lin Yi. On the contrary, he was shocked by Lin Yi's talent and strength. However, in the Holy Spirit Heaven sect, there were many more monstrous geniuses than Lin Yi. Not to mention the top 10 core disciples. Lin Yi wasn't even a match for the other core disciples. Following this, Lin Yi successfully joined the Holy Spirit Heaven sect. He became a genius disciple of the Holy Spirit Heaven sect. The next day, Lin Yi and Silent Soul headed to the Holy Spirit Heaven sect together. Both of them had the Holy Spirit Heaven sect's token, so they easily entered the Holy Spirit Heaven sect. The Holy Spirit Heaven sect occupied a vast area. The spiritual energy was dense and pure, and the picturesque pavilion sat in the middle of the spiritual energy. This scene was as if they had arrived at a fairyland. There were two types of people in the Holy Spirit Heaven sect. One was a monstrous genius. The other was a peerless expert. Regardless of which one it was, they were all renowned existences in the outside world. Lin Yi, first layer creation realm. Living in the sky, dazzling peak, 10,000 spiritual stones per month. Every month, you have 6 hours to cultivate in the land of Holy Spirit. Soon, the two of them reported to the Holy Spirit Heaven sect's Azure Dazzling Tower to receive the sect's benefits and some things to take note of. They had become members of the Holy Spirit Heaven sect. The person who received them was an old man in his 80s. The old man was only first layer creation realm, but he was neither servile nor overbearing to anyone. If one didn't look at his cultivation, one would think that he was an elder of the Holy Spirit Heaven sect. But Lin Yi didn't underestimate him. In his eyes, there were 3 types of people in this world. One was a friend. One was the enemy, passers-by who had nothing to do with him. Thank you. Lin Yi took back his identity crystal and thanked him. They left the Azure Dazzling Tower and headed to the Sky Dazzling Peak. Silent Soul also lived in the Sky Dazzling Peak. Young master, are you going to cultivate first? Or are you going to challenge a core disciple? Silent Soul talked to Lin Yi as they walked. She was so beautiful that her charm was unparalleled. But in front of Lin Yi, she didn't have the slightest bit of arrogance. The only thing she was confident in was her appearance and physique. But she knew that the women around Lin Yi were all beautiful. She didn't have an absolute advantage at all. I'm about to break through. I'll cultivate in seclusion for a while. Ask around about Luo Xing, and the Holy Spirit Heaven sect. Let me know if there's anything important. Lin Yi said without hesitation. He wasn't good at gathering information. Chapter 155. Silent Soul Understands. Silent Soul bowed and nodded obediently. If others saw this scene, their jaws would drop. A peerless goddess, a perfect beauty. He was actually bowing to an ordinary-sized youth with incomparable respect. This was simply too shocking. There would definitely be people who would think that the world had gone crazy. Tianyao Peak's Lingjin courtyard. Lin Yi took out his identity token and shone it at the pavilion. Suddenly, a screen of light appeared in front of the pavilion, which was originally empty. The light screen enveloped the pavilion. It had always been like this, but Lin Yi didn't notice it before. If he didn't know about the restriction here and barged in, he would definitely be repelled by the hidden defense or even be seriously injured. Soon, a 2-meter-wide crack appeared on the light screen. He glanced at Silent Soul beside him, then entered the light. The moment he entered the light, the identity token in his hand flew to Silent Soul and landed in Silent Soul's hand. And he sacrificed a drop of essence blood. The essence blood dripped onto the light screen and instantly merged with it. Now, he didn't need to use his identity token to enter and exit as he pleased. Sky Sword 12 Styles. Lingjin Courtyard, one of the countless courtyards under Tianyao Peak. It was now Lin Yi's cultivation ground. After Lin Yi entered the courtyard, his divine sense enveloped the entire courtyard and scanned everything in it. He knew that there were no surveillance restrictions or methods here. This way, he could rest assured. Being able to have a safe place to cultivate was definitely a comfortable thing. The Shengling Heaven sect was one of the top forces in the entire Cloud Sky Kingdom. Generally speaking, no one would come to the Shengling Heaven sect to cause trouble. Even if someone wanted to attack the Shengling Heaven sect, the Shengling Heaven sect would be able to fend them off. Therefore, cultivating here was at least safe. He didn't have to worry about his safety. He sat down cross-legged and began cultivating. He had reached the creation realm. No matter if he wanted to cultivate, he still had to improve his intent realm. The higher his realm, the more he would come into contact with. Of course, the stronger his opponent, the more monstrous he would be. If he relaxed even a little, he would be surpassed and left far behind. 1/3 of the celestial sword divine body was comparable to a powerful divine body. The sword gleam in his mind disappeared the moment he achieved 1/3 of the celestial sword divine physique. It didn't just disappear, it merged with his entire being. It was as if the ninefold space had become one with him. The unparalleled divine sword had also become one with him. Even he did not know where the divine sword was. Although he couldn't see it, he could sense the existence of the divine sword at any time. It was in his body, or rather, a part of his body. Heavenly Sword, 12 styles, he had comprehended it from the divine sword. There were a total of 12 styles. 3 swords to become a saint. 6 swords to godhood. As for how powerful he could become after the 6th sword strike, it was something that he could not understand. At least, he could not understand it now. Only his previous life knew about it. Unfortunately, he did not have the memories of his previous life. 3 swords to become a saint. Only by cultivating the 3rd sword can one achieve 2/3 of the celestial sword divine constitution. Fortunately, after becoming a saint with 3 swords, the divine sword will become mine. Lin Yi comprehended the heaven-defying might of the heavenly sword 12 styles and was incomparably shocked in his heart. Now he realized that he needed too much time. Not to mention 3 swords or 6 swords. Just the first sword would take a long time to cultivate. Lioli, keep an eye on me. Calling me again. Lin Yi moved his mind and called out Qingming Lioli. Qingming Lioli appeared and turned into a blade of grass. The grass floated above a piece of dark green jade. It looked extremely magical. After saying that, Lin Yi disappeared and entered the ninefold space. Only in the ninefold space could time offset his consumption. Otherwise, if he cultivated in the outside world, he really didn't know when he would be able to successfully cultivate the first sword strike. Moreover, not only did he have to cultivate the heavenly sword 12 styles, he also had to cultivate the 3,000 heavenly Tao, cultivate the divine dragon 9 transformations, cultivate the concept, and cultivate all kinds of powerful martial skills. The first style, 1 sword cold light of 19 provinces. The ninefold space was 10,000 miles in length, width, and height. The spiritual energy was extremely dense and almost solid. Amidst the spiritual energy, there were also 9-colored auspicious clouds. In this independent small world, Lin Yi divided it into countless small areas. These small areas were separated with just a thought of his. Because in the ninefold space, he was the master. All kinds of treasures were placed on one side, and the cultivation area was separated on the other side. Luo, Bingyue, and the others were on one side, so they wouldn't affect each other in the slightest. On a patch of lush green grass, Lin Yi's 5 fingers formed a sword seal, using his fingers as a sword. The sword intent all over his body condensed, and his aura suddenly changed. At this moment, he was a divine sword that stood proudly between heaven and earth, and his sword intent was awe-inspiring. A peak 70% sword intent, cultivating the sword Tao faster and more powerful. Whoosh, 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 as his fingers moved, sword light flashed. The sword light caused a strong wind to wreak havoc, and ripples appeared in the space. Time passed by minute. Lin Yi was completely immersed in the cultivation of the sword Tao. It was enlightenment. It was cultivation. It was memories. Or it was repeating the trajectory of the sword Tao in his previous life. Or it was surpassing the trajectory of the sword Tao in his previous life. Before he knew it, half a month had passed. For half a month, he had been cultivating the sword Tao in the state of selflessness. The first style of the sky, sword 12 styles. A sword that shone with a cold light. Success. After successfully cultivating the first style, Lin Yi wasn't in a hurry to comprehend and cultivate the second style, because the second style was more difficult than the first style, thousands of times more difficult. Even if he could comprehend it, it wouldn't be easy to cultivate it successfully. Now, he couldn't waste time on the second style. Then, Lin Yi began to cultivate the starry sky divine technique to improve his cultivation realm. He poured out a drop of spiritual liquid and swallowed it. Then, he began to refine and cultivate the starry sky divine technique. Another month passed. 99 drops of spiritual liquid were refined. Lin Yi's cultivation broke through the first level of the creation realm as he wished, and reached the second level of the creation realm. The third month passed. Lin Yi refined all the rewards he had received on the 9-tier mountain. Of course, he didn't use the divine blood and divine qi. All the resources were used up. His cultivation had reached the peak of the second level of the creation realm. Master. Lin Yi rested for a moment and was about to cultivate the Heavenly Emperor Fist. At this moment, he sensed Lu Li's communication. He had told Lu Li to call him if there was anything. Now that Lu Li took the initiative to communicate with him, there must be something. Then, he stopped cultivating, his body twisted strangely and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already in the room. His divine thought moved. He scanned the entire Lingjin yard, and even everything outside the yard was imprinted in his mind. Outside the Spirit Truth courtyard, Solitary Spirit was waiting. However, there was a middle-aged man and 2 young men not far from her. Junior sister, Silent Soul. You just came to Tianyao Peak, so you don't know the rules. How dare you refuse our senior brother Ling Ao's invitation? The one who spoke was the middle-aged expert. The middle-aged man was at the 3rd level of the creation realm, and his strength was profound. When he spoke, his eyes reluctantly moved away from Silent Soul and looked at the Lingjin yard, obviously having designs on the yard. Chapter 156. Senior Brother Ling Ao, your name resounds like thunder. I've admired you for a long time. However, Silent Soul is unable to accept Senior Brother Ling Ao's invitation. Silent Soul glanced at the 3. A faint smile appeared on her face. This smile caused the hearts of the 3 blessed realm martial artists to tremble and lose themselves. Greed and evil appeared in their eyes, but the 3 of them were blessed realm martial artists after all. They quickly hid the greed and evil in their eyes without leaving a trace. They were extremely shocked. In front of this peerless beauty, they almost fell for it. If it wasn't because Senior Brother Ling Ao took a fancy to Silent Soul, the 3 of them would definitely have other thoughts. Junior sister Silent Soul, don't be ungrateful. Senior Brother Ling Ao is one of the top 10 elites of Sky Shine Peak. You're new and are valued by Senior Brother Ling Ao. If you can become Senior Brother Ling Ao's person, I guarantee that no one will dare to offend you. You can do whatever you want in Sky Shine Peak. The expression on Zhao Yin's face changed. He didn't think that this new disciple would dare to reject Senior Brother Ling Ao's invitation. Senior Brother Ling Ao was one of the top 10 elites of Sky Shine Peak. To be valued by Senior Brother Ling Ao, one's future was limitless. And this Silent Soul didn't know how to appreciate his kindness. She was a little better looking, but in this world where the strong were respected, it was useless no matter how pretty she was if she didn't have heaven-defying strength and a powerful background. She might even bring disaster to herself. When Senior Brother Ling Ao gave him this mission, he seemed to be happy. But now, he realized that it wasn't so easy. Ungrateful? If I don't accept Ling Ao's invitation, I'm ungrateful. If I don't go, I'm ungrateful. What should I do? A sweet smile appeared on Silent Soul's beautiful face. She had a perfect body and was a natural beauty. She had an endless charm in her unparalleled charm, but there was also an innocent purity in her charm. She completely merged purity and charm into one. Her frown and smile was enough to make people lose themselves. As he spoke, he took small, quick steps and circled around the 3 powerful Blessed Realm fighters. Her tone was calm and even gentle. However, his words were extremely sharp and even carried a strong sense of provocation and sarcasm. Outside the Lingjin courtyard, more and more people had gathered to watch the show. All of them were Tianyao Peak's genius experts. Although they were not one of the top 10 experts, nor were they direct disciples. However, it was undeniable that they were all geniuses in the void refinement or creation realm. In these 3 days, Silent Soul walked around Tianyao Peak. Of course, there were also many experts from the Holy Spirit heavenly sect who knew that she was a peerlessly beautiful goddess who could charm the world. As a matter of fact, Ling Ao coveted her. Sigh. It's not good to offend senior brother Ling Ao. Senior martial brother Ling Ao is one of the top 10 creation realm experts in Tianyao Peak. This is fate. If Ling Ao takes a liking to her, then she's finished. In Tianyao Peak, even the direct disciples have to give Ling Ao some face because Ling Ao's strength is the closest to the direct disciples. Moreover, Ling Ao is true Master Ling Yang's cousin. Actually, being chosen by Ling Ao is also a kind of opportunity. This Silent Soul junior sister is in the top 3 of the top 10 goddesses. More and more experts came to watch the show. At this moment, there were already over 100 geniuses in the vicinity of Lingzhen Courtyard. The lowest was at the 9th level of the Void Refinement Realm, and most were at the Creation Realm. When they saw that senior martial brother Ling Ao's people came to invite Silent Soul, they started to discuss. However, none of them dared to speak loudly. If senior martial brother Ling Ao heard about it, then they wouldn't be able to stay in Tianyao Peak. Junior sister Silent Soul. I'm sorry. Zhao Yin's expression was extremely ugly. Although this Silent Soul before him was beautiful, Ling Ao didn't give him any face. Her words just now were even provoking him. As a genius expert, he naturally couldn't tolerate it. As he spoke, he stretched out his hand to grab Silent Soul. He wanted to capture Silent Soul and send her to senior martial brother Ling Ao. However, even if he wanted to capture Silent Soul, he wouldn't offend Silent Soul with his words. In case Silent Soul became senior martial brother Ling Ao's woman in the future and complained to him. A 3rd-level creation realm martial artist dealing with a 9th-level void refinement realm martial artist was completely easy. In the blink of an eye, Zhao Yin's hand had already grabbed Silent Soul, and Silent Soul didn't have the slightest chance to resist or dodge. Just as she was about to be grabbed, Zhao Yin's hand stopped in midair. Take back your dog's paw. Otherwise, I'll cripple your dog's paw. Zhao Yin's actions caused countless experts to be shocked and puzzled. Just when everyone was puzzled, an indifferent voice sounded from Lingzhen Courtyard. The voice was ordinary, but it carried an irresistible charm. Hearing this voice, everyone present couldn't help but take a deep breath. The person who spoke was too arrogant and conceited. He actually dared to call Zhao Yin's hand a dog's paw. For a moment, they all looked towards the Spirit True Courtyard. Their eyes were filled with curiosity. That was because this courtyard was where ordinary disciples lived and cultivated. Moreover, it was empty a while ago. Now it was occupied. This meant one thing. That was, the person in Lingzhen Courtyard was a new disciple. No wonder a new disciple dared to speak like this. He was completely like a newborn calf that wasn't afraid of a tiger. Otherwise, how could he interfere with senior brother Ling Ao's matters? Countless experts couldn't help but feel pity for the new disciple in Lingzhen Courtyard that they'd never met before. There were also some that took pleasure in his misfortune. Offending senior brother Ling Ao was courting death, and one less ordinary disciple meant one less resource wasted. Get out here. Zhao Yin's palm hurt, and he was shocked in his heart. Earlier, he'd almost caught Silent Soul, but he was hit by an icy cold and shapeless true essence, causing his palm to hurt unbearably, and he had no choice but to stop. But he was called a dog's paw, and for a moment, he didn't know whether to take it back or not. If he took it back, he felt that he was too obedient. If he didn't take it back, the pain in his palm was unbearable. For a moment, he was in a dilemma. His expression was icy cold, and he wished for nothing more than to turn this new disciple into ashes. They knew everything about Celestial Shine Peak. Naturally, they knew that the person in Lingzhen Courtyard was a new disciple. You dare cause trouble in my Lingzhen Courtyard. You don't know the difference between life and death. A crack was torn in the restriction of Lingzhen Courtyard, and an ordinary young man's figure appeared in everyone's line of sight. The young man was calm and carefree, and he walked out unhurriedly. His hands were behind his back. There was a trace of a smile on his face. Everyone couldn't help but be startled when they saw Lin Yi appear. An ordinary young man? How could he be so bold? Was he a fool or a madman? Acting like a hero, saving a beauty. You'll have to pay a heavy price. As your senior brother, I'll teach you how to be a man. If you meet me in Celestial Shine Peak, you can only lower your head and be a man. Otherwise, you'll disappear from this world. Zhao Ying saw that the one who came out was just an ordinary young man. He was even more unhappy. Killing intent surged from the bottom of his heart. As he spoke, he raised his hand and punched towards Lin Yi fiercely. Chapter 157. Zhao Yin's fist was about to land on Lin Yi's body. The powerhouses who were watching the show all seemed to have seen Lin Yi's tragic end. However, Lin Yi did not panic at all. He opened his mouth and said indifferently. He casually waved his hands behind his back and threw a punch at Zhao Yin's fist. Suddenly, the space twisted and cracked. The domineering power was like a king descending to the world, even if he only used the first level of the Heavenly Emperor Fist. With his cultivation at the peak of the second level of the creation realm, he could still crush someone at the third level of the creation realm. Boom, the two fists collided. Space. There was a tremor, and then it was destroyed. Strong winds wreaked havoc in the space. Lin Yi did not move at all. On the other hand, Zhao Ying, who attacked Lin Yi, was thrown back like a kite with a broken string. He spat out a mouthful of blood in the air, which turned into a faint blood curtain. Plop. Soon, Zhao Yin's body fell to the ground 100 meters away. Wow. At this moment, hundreds of experts from the Shengling heavenly sect were all stunned. Their mouths were wide open, and even their fists could be stuffed in. Their eyeballs were about to fly out. They did not expect the ending to be like this. Plop. An ordinary newcomer, with a casual punch, seriously injured Zhao Ying, who attacked first. Zhao Ying was lying on the ground like a dead dog, constantly spitting out blood. Moreover, this ordinary-looking young man was still so calm and collected, as if the result of what had just happened had nothing to do with him. Young master. Silent Soul saw Lin Yi and bowed. She looked very charming and gentle. She was very nervous about what had just happened. Lin Yi had told her not to disturb him if there was nothing, because he needed to cultivate in seclusion. However, only 3 days had passed, and this happened. It was indeed 3 days. He had been in a ninefold space for more than 3 months. Only 3 days had passed in the outside world. It's okay. You did well. Lin Yi smiled. She lifted Silent Soul's chin and said softly. This action stunned everyone. At the same time, they were so envious that they wanted to vomit blood. However, what they didn't expect was that not only did Silent Spirit not get angry or resist, it was instead incomparably obedient and even delighted. She was a natural beauty, one who could be ranked in the top 3 of the 10 goddesses of the Holy Spirit Heavenly Sect. Yet, she was being teased by an ordinary young man. Young master, he is one of Ling Ao's men. Ling Ao is one of the 10 blessed realm experts in Tianyao Peak. Moreover, Ling Ao's cousin is Ling Yang's true son. Solitary Spirit was extremely shy, and a blush appeared on her beautiful and alluring face. At this moment, she was even more enchanting and beautiful. However, when she thought of Ling Ao's identity, she started to worry. She was worried that by dealing with Zhao Ying, Lin Yi would offend Ling Ao and the expert behind Ling Ao. This was all because of her, so she couldn't help but feel ashamed. Not only did she fail to help Lin Yi, she even brought trouble to Lin Yi. That's better. Beat the small one, and the big one will come. Beat the big one, and the old one will come. Kill his whole family. Lin Yi had a smile on his face. He was quiet like a scholar, but the words he spoke were domineering and confident, as if everything was under his control. As he spoke, he walked toward Zhao Ying step by step. He swept his cold gaze over the other 2 powerful blessed realm martial artists. When Lin Yi's eyes swept over them, the 2 blessed realm experts felt as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. Their hearts couldn't help but tremble, and their expressions turned ugly. Kneel down and apologize. You only have 3 breaths of time. Lin Yi walked towards Zhao Ying step by step. His eyes were cold and emotionless as he spoke. "I am Senior Brother Ling Ao's man. If you dare to touch me, you will regret it." Zhao Yin's expression twisted. Ever since he joined Senior Brother Ling Ao's boat, he could do whatever he wanted in Tianyao Peak. No one dared to provoke him, and even the true disciples had to give him some face. He didn't expect that he would be beaten up by a newcomer. How would he have the face to stay in Tianyao Peak in the future? He didn't believe that Lin Yi would dare to do anything to him. When he left this place, he would definitely make this reckless newcomer regret it. 3. 2. Lin Yi didn't pay any attention to Zhao Yin. Instead, he counted down at a moderate pace. The Holy Spirit Heavenly Sect experts who were watching the show near Lingzhen Courtyard curiously looked at Lin Yi. They wanted to see if this newcomer dared to fight Zhao Yin, and if he was afraid of Senior Brother Ling Ao. They knew that the Holy Spirit Heavenly Sect didn't forbid fighting. However, not many people dared to kill in the Holy Spirit Heavenly Sect. "Little bastard, don't be arrogant." Zhao Yin's expression twisted as he listened to Lin Yi's count. He knew that he would definitely be beaten up by this newcomer today, but he didn't dare to kill him. If he missed today, he would definitely find a way to turn this newcomer into ashes. 1. Lin Yi finally finished counting. However, he didn't see any movement from Zhao Yin. The moment he finished counting, Lin Yi waved his hand. Instantly, a destructive sword intent cut through the air and landed on Zhao Yin's body. Zhao Yin's face was filled with fear. His eyes were filled with unwillingness and disbelief. However, Lin Yi's sword intent had already landed on him. The destructive sword intent crushed his life force. The power of creation and Emperor Physique collapsed at this moment. In an instant, Zhao Yin, who was at the 3rd level of creation realm, died. Screech, the 100 or so experts present were shocked. Their mouths were so wide open that their fists could be stuffed in them. Their eyeballs were about to fly out. They didn't expect this at all. This newcomer dared to kill in the Holy Spirit Heavenly Sect. He killed the people around Senior Brother Ling Ao. This had offended Senior Brother Ling Ao to the extreme. At the same time, they were shocked by Lin Yi's methods. He did things decisively and cleanly, without the slightest hesitation. He even killed a powerful blessed realm martial artist within 3 seconds. From the beginning to the end, Lin Yi didn't show any emotion on his face. He didn't hesitate at all. "Go back. Tell Ling Ao not to provoke me." Lin Yi finished off Zhao Yin and returned to Silent Soul. He glanced at Zhao Yin's 2 companions. The 3 of them came together to invite Silent Soul. Now that Zhao Yin was dead, only the 2 of them were left. When they saw Lin Yi's methods, they were extremely scared. They were afraid that Lin Yi would attack them. Their bodies kept trembling. "Yes, yes," the 2 of them answered while trembling. Their faces were pale and sweat seeped out. After answering, they quickly left. They didn't dare to stay here for a second longer. "Take him away." When Lin Yi saw the 2 of them leave, just like that, his brows involuntarily furrowed. Chapter 158. The 2 of them were startled by Lin Yi's shout. Their hearts raced, and they almost fell to the ground. Hearing that Lin Yi wanted them to take Zhao Yin's body away, the 2 were relieved. Without hesitation, the 2 carried Zhao Yin's body and quickly left Lingzhen Courtyard. Apart from shock, all of the experts present were still shocked. Arrogant, domineering, strong. That was the only way to describe this seemingly ordinary newcomer. Was he really a newcomer? Was a newcomer this strong? Was a newcomer this arrogant? However, this was the truth. Lin Yi was a true newcomer. He had only been in the Shengling Heavenly Sect for 3 days. However, he did things that ordinary experts didn't dare to do. In Tianyao Peak, not many people dared to provoke Senior Brother Ling Ao. Not many people even dared to resist. However, Lin Yi directly killed the people around Senior Brother Ling Ao. He even threatened Senior Brother Ling Ao not to provoke him. "Let's talk inside." Lin Yi glanced at the experts who were watching the show. He then looked at Silent Soul and said. After speaking, he walked towards Lingzhen Courtyard. Solitary Spirit responded softly and obediently, following Lin Yi into Lingzhen Courtyard. "Who is this newcomer?" Seems like he really doesn't know Tianyao Peak. He's in big trouble after offending senior brotherling AO. He won't be able to move an inch in Tianyao Peak. How long do you think he can live? Not to mention senior brotherling AO, just the experts around senior brotherling AO are enough to kill him 1,000 times. His life won't be easy in the future. A newcomer should keep a low profile. However, his strength isn't bad and he's young. Seeing Lin Yi and Silent Soul leave, the experts who were watching the show started to discuss. Although they could see that Lin Yi wasn't weak, they could even say that he was very strong. However, in front of senior brother Ling Ao, he was nothing. Provoking senior brother Ling Ao, there was only one outcome: bad luck. Needless to say, the consequences of killing senior brother Ling Ao was a life for a life. As for that Silent Soul junior sister, she wouldn't be able to escape from senior brother Ling Ao's grasp. Young Master, kill Zhaoyin. It's not beneficial to young Master. In the Lingzhen courtyard, Lin Yi was reclining on a chair. He did not look proper at all. Silent Soul sat across from Lin Yi. He said to Lin Yi, in the past 3 days, she had managed to gather quite a bit of information. Naturally, he knew of senior martial brother Ling Ao's existence in Celestial Light Peak. She had never thought that Lin Yi would actually directly kill Zhaoyin, who was by senior brother Ling Ao's side. This had completely offended senior brother Ling Ao, leaving no room for negotiation. She knew that Lin Yi was monstrously talented and powerful. But now, senior brother Ling Ao was even stronger. Of course, if Lin Yi was given time, senior brother Ling Ao would not be qualified to be mentioned in the same breath as Lin Yi. It's indeed a bit troublesome. Tell me about the Tianyao Peak. Lin Yi nodded with a smile on his face. No matter how you looked at it, he didn't look like he was in trouble. He looked completely indifferent. Indeed, he was indifferent. There are a total of 33 elders in the Shengling Heaven sect. Every elder is in the Sky Realm. Above the elders are the Grand Elder and the Sect Master. Aside from the elders, there are the top 10 direct disciples. Below the top 10 direct disciples are the 99 direct disciples. Aside from these people, the rest are ordinary geniuses of the Shengling Heaven sect. We are one of them. Silent Soul didn't rush to start from the Tianyao Peak. Instead, he talked about the simple structure of the Shengling Heaven sect. This information wasn't a secret. Anyone from the Shengling Heaven sect could easily find out. As for the secrets of the Shengling Heaven sect, it was the Grand Elder and the Sect Master, as well as the trump cards and methods of the Shengling Heaven sect. Shengling Heaven sect, a 5th grade force. Indeed, powerful. The difference between a 6th grade force and a 5th grade force is like heaven and earth. Lin Yi was extremely shocked. He had been to the 6th grade Heavenly Zhongshuan sect. Now, he realized that the Heavenly Zhongshuan sect was on a completely different level from the Shengling Heaven sect. The difference between the two was like heaven and earth. They were only 1 grade apart, but the difference was so huge. Then, how powerful was a 4th grade force? He didn't dare to imagine. He really didn't dare to imagine. It could be said that a single direct disciple of a 5th grade force could wipe out a 6th grade force. The Tianyao Peak has 7 direct disciples. All of them are above the 7th layer of the creation realm. One of the top 10 direct disciples, Ling Yang, is in the Tianyao Peak. Other than the core disciples, Celestial Light Peak also has 10 creation realm experts. Senior brother Ling Ao is one of the 10 creation realm experts. In Celestial Light Peak, there is simply no one who dares to offend senior brother Ling Ao. A Silent Soul spoke. Her beautiful eyes looked at Lin Yi. Her lively eyes seemed to be able to speak. Gentleness, charm, and holiness merged into one. After speaking, she quietly looked at Lin Yi. My strength still needs to be improved a little more. Ling Ao is indeed troublesome, but this little bit of trouble is nothing to be afraid of. Lin Yi still had a smile on his face. He naturally wouldn't be afraid because of Ling Ao. After all, he still had to save Luo Xing, from his senior brother. Compared to his senior brother Ling Ao wasn't worth mentioning. The 10 peaks compete with each other. The Shengling Heaven sect is like a small world. The 10 peaks are 10 forces, and they compete with each other constantly. Now, you should go to the land of Saint Spirit to cultivate for 6 hours. As for senior brother Ling Tianli, I heard that he is in seclusion to break through to the celestial realm. Silent Soul explained the situation between the 10 peaks. The 10 peaks competed with each other, but they were extremely united against external forces, at least on the surface. The Tianyao Peak was ranked second, last among the 10 peaks. What kind of place is the land of Saint Spirit? Lin Yi wasn't surprised to hear about the competition between the 10 peaks. No matter where it was, competition always existed. Only through competition could there be greater progress. The land of Saint Spirit is the sacred place of the Shengling Heaven sect. You can comprehend the essence and quickly improve your cultivation. However, ordinary geniuses only have 6 hours of cultivation time each month. Core disciples have 20 hours each month. The 10 core disciples have 30 hours each month. Of course, there are other ways to increase the time in the land of Saint Spirit, and that is to go to the illusory sea. Silent Soul said seriously. This was the result of her hard work in the past 3 days. The land of Saint Spirit seems to be a good place. My cultivation is almost done. It's time for you to raise your cultivation. Lin Ye's face showed a trace of expectation. Since even the 10 true disciples only had 30 hours to cultivate in the land of Saint Spirit, it must be an extraordinary place. He naturally wouldn't miss it. He looked at Silent Soul. Silent Soul was still at the peak of the 9th level of the Void Refinement stage, and was 1 step away from the creation stage. As he spoke, he circulated the creation energy. A huge amount of true origin began to circulate. Then, a drop of blood essence condensed. The blood essence contained unparalleled power, and it emitted the creation energy and creation intent. Chapter 159. Lin Yi offered his essence blood, which contained unparalleled power. The power of creation and the will of creation were all in the essence blood. The essence blood the size of a little finger flew towards Silent Soul and floated in front of Silent Soul. Thank you, young master. Silent Soul looked at the essence blood in front of her and was extremely touched, because she knew that Lin Yi had separated his will of creation and the power of creation, allowing her to comprehend the will of creation. This way, she would be able to comprehend her will of creation faster. Breaking through to the creation realm was something that was set in stone. This method would work, but there were not many people who used this method, because those who offered their essence blood must be in the creation realm and must have a physique above the holy physique. Moreover, offering such a drop of essence blood would consume 1/10 of one's essence blood and cultivation. Generally speaking, it was impossible to offer one's essence blood for others to cultivate. But now, Lin Yi offered his essence blood for her to comprehend and cultivate. How could she not be touched? Go and cultivate. Come and see me when you reach the creation realm. Lin Yi waved his hand and let Silent Soul leave. On his face, there was a hint of paleness. As he spoke, he took a spirit fruit in his hand and ate it in a few bites, not looking refined at all. But in Silent Soul's eyes, Lin Yi was cute and touching. Yes. Silent Soul bowed. All right, this is for you. Lin Yi thought of something and moved his divine sense. A ring appeared in his hand. Then, with a flick of his finger, the ring flew towards Silent Soul. After doing all this, he sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate and recover the essence blood he just used. Silent Soul caught the ring and was stunned. She did not know what Lin Yi meant by this, but she did not say anything. She bowed again and left Lingjing Courtyard. Tianyao Peak, Falling Cloud Pavilion, the place where senior brother Ling Ao lived and cultivated. However, senior brother Ling Ao wasn't here because he had obtained a 9th Revolution Saint weapon from True Sun Ling Yang and was currently refining it. Even if he was not a match for a legacy disciple, he could still be ranked higher among the top 10 manifestation stage practitioners. What? Zhao Lin was killed? Yang Li, what's going on? Senior brother Ling Ao asked you all to do something, and you all are able to mess it up. Zhao Yin was really killed. Who killed him? That direct disciple of Tianyao Peak did it. Even if he's a true disciple, he wouldn't kill someone in the Shengling heavenly sect. Could it be that you've offended someone too much? Otherwise, he wouldn't have killed Zhao Yin. His arm was shattered, and he died from sword intent. There are 3 direct disciples of Tianyao Peak who use swords. Who are they? There were over 10 creation realm experts in the Falling Cloud Pavilion. Moreover, these creation stage powerhouses were all at least at the 5th level of the creation stage. The most powerful one was at the 8th level of the creation stage. When they saw Yang Li and Tianyao Peak return with Zhao Yin's corpse, they were all extremely shocked. They had never thought that someone would die in the Shengling heavenly sect. Moreover, the one who died was someone close to senior brother Ling Ao. Although they didn't think much of a small character like Zhao Yin, he was still with senior brother Ling Ao. For a moment, they all started to think about who killed Zhao Yin. The person they thought of was either one of the top 10 creation stage practitioners or a true disciple. The only thing they didn't think of was an ordinary genius. They also didn't think of a newcomer. It's a newcomer. Silent Soul called that person Young Master. Yang Li was the middle-aged man who went to invite Silent Soul and the other 2. This time, he was scared out of his wits. Even now, he still had lingering fears. What? A newcomer? Silent Soul called him Young Master. Who is he? A newcomer is so arrogant? Yang Li's words shocked everyone. Their mouths were wide open and their eyeballs were about to fall out. They didn't think that the person who killed Zhao Yin was a newcomer. Since when were the newcomers of the Tianyao Peak so arrogant? Since when were the newcomers of the Tianyao Peak so powerful? More importantly, Silent Soul, who was more beautiful than the top 10 goddesses of the Shengling heavenly sect, actually called a newcomer Young Master. Who was this newcomer? One had to know that in the Shengling heavenly sect, they all called each other senior brother, senior sister, and junior sister. They rarely used other titles. He lives in the Lingjin courtyard. I think his name is Lin Yi. Peak of the 2nd level of the creation stage. Yang Li couldn't help but tremble when he spoke. Luckily, it was Zhao Yin and not him. Otherwise, he would have ended up like Zhao Yin. He, who was at the 3rd level of the creation stage, was like an ant in front of a dragon in front of that young man. No matter who he is, anyone who dares to provoke us deserves to die. Let's go. Li Shiyu snorted coldly. A newcomer at the 2nd level of the creation stage dared to be so arrogant. He was courting death. Although someone at the peak of the 2nd level of the creation stage could kill someone at the 3rd level of the creation stage, it wasn't worth mentioning in front of him, who was at the 5th level of the creation stage. He was worried that he wouldn't have a chance to show off. Now, someone had appeared to provoke senior brother Ling Ao. After teaching this newcomer a lesson, he would have more face in front of senior brother Ling Ao in the future. As he spoke, he didn't ask anyone else and walked out of the Falling Cloud Pavilion alone. Let's go. It's good to watch the show. A smile appeared on Zhou Cheng's face. He was at the 8th level of the creation stage. Among the people around senior brother Ling Ao, he was the strongest. Now that senior brother Ling Ao was refining the Saint artifact, he was the strongest. Instantly, apart from Yang Li, everyone else left the Falling Cloud Pavilion and headed towards the Spirit Truth Courtyard. Along the way, countless experts were extremely shocked when they saw the lineup of Li Shiyu's group. It could be said that this lineup consisted of everyone around senior brother Ling Ao. Everyone was moving out. No one knew what was going on. Instantly, countless people followed from afar. The news quickly spread. It's really difficult to recover blood essence. I'll try to refine a drop of saint blood at night. Lin Yi opened his eyes. The corner of his mouth twitched as he muttered to himself. Previously, he gave a drop of blood essence to Silent Soul. Now that he wanted to recover it, he realized that it wasn't that easy. It would take at least a few days to half a month. Of course, he wouldn't wait here to recover his blood essence. When he thought of the land of Saint Spirit and the ocean of illusion, a trace of anticipation and curiosity rose in his heart. He stood up, tidied his clothes, and left the room. He passed through the restriction of the Lingjin courtyard and walked towards the land of Saint Spirit. The land of Saint Spirit wasn't on the Celestial Light Peak. However, he could use the teleportation formation on the Celestial Light Peak Square because there were a total of 10 entrances to the land of Saint Spirit. Every peak had an entrance, and the Celestial Light Peak had an entrance. Naturally, he wouldn't go to the other peaks. Without hesitation, he walked towards the Celestial Light Peak Square. However, just as he left the Lingjin courtyard, he encountered a powerful aura. Senior brother Zhou Cheng. He's Lin Yi. A trembling voice rang out. Chapter 160. Heavenly Sword God Emperor had been uploaded for almost 2 months. Luo Hua was grateful to the countless brothers and sisters who had followed Heavenly Sword God Emperor. After today, there would definitely be brothers and sisters who would say goodbye to Heavenly Sword God Emperor, because Heavenly Sword God Emperor was going to enter V. Not bad. It meant that it was going to be published. After writing a few books, Luo Hua understood a principle. The relationship between the novel and everyone was like that between a boyfriend and a girlfriend. If the relationship was good, they would continue to walk together and never separate. If the relationship wasn't good, they would break up when they encountered a little problem. It was the same when the novel was published. Those who really supported Luo Hua and Heavenly Sword God Emperor would definitely continue to walk together and never separate. They would grow and strengthen together with Heavenly Sword God Emperor. After a boyfriend and girlfriend broke up, those with good character might become ordinary friends again. They wouldn't scold each other. After the novel was published, those who really liked Heavenly Sword God Emperor and didn't continue to support Heavenly Sword God Emperor would also not say that the novel had to be paid for and so on. Let's not talk nonsense. Brothers, let's go together. Heavenly Sword God Emperor will bring you to show off and soar. Last night, I wrote all night and updated it at 12 o'clock sharp. Heavenly Sword God Emperor, Lin Yi, was already in the creation realm and would soon step into the celestial realm. After the celestial realm, it would be half-sage, quasi-sage, great sage, heavenly sage, absolute sage. Sage King Sage was just the beginning. Were there still gods? Of course there were. Update at 12 o'clock sharp, 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 update at 12 o'clock sharp. Important things were said 3 times. The extra time was to remind the author. Everyone's monthly votes and recommendation votes should go to Heavenly Sword God Emperor. Chapter 161. Hiss hiss, swoosh swoosh. The moment the voice was heard, Lin Yi felt more than 10 overwhelming auras rushing towards him. The space was distorted by the powerful auras. Sound waves appeared in the air. At this moment, he felt as if the entire world was spinning, and his heart skipped a beat. An expert, an absolute expert. And there was more than one. He raised his head and looked forward. There were more than 10 Creation Realm experts. Other than a familiar level 3 Creation Realm expert, the rest were all above level 5 Creation Realm, and one was even at level 8 Creation Realm. The auras of these experts were all directed at him. At this moment, he felt as if his body was being pressed down by 100,000 mountains. You are Lin Yi. 100 meters away, the dozen or so experts stopped. One of the middle-aged level 5 Creation Realm experts asked. His tone and appearance were completely condescending. That's right, Lin Yi said calmly. Intentionally or unintentionally, he glanced at the middle-aged expert. His expression was calm, without the slightest hint of nervousness, let alone panic. You killed Zhao Yin, right? He is senior brother Ling Ao's man. Since you dared to kill senior brother Ling Ao's man, then you are prepared to pay the price. Let me tell you, my name is Li Shiyu. If there is an afterlife, remember to be a low-key newcomer. Li Shiyu took a step forward. Suddenly, an earth-shattering pressure pressed down on Lin Yi. The wind was raging, and the killing intent was awe-inspiring. The strength of a level 5 Creation Realm expert was completely unleashed. He wanted to use his strong advantage to crush Lin Yi. That's right, a level 5 Creation Realm expert only needed to use his aura to suppress a level 2 Creation Realm expert. However, his opponent was not an ordinary expert. You're Li Shiyu, right? Let me tell you, I am not low-key. What can you do to me? Lin Yi felt the mountain-like aura descend. He instinctively activated the starry sky divine art. He took a step forward, and an unparalleled aura burst out. He was at level 2 creation realm, and his aura was comparable to the peak of level 8 creation realm. Coupled with his peak 70% sword intent and saber intent, he was absolutely invincible among those of the same level. Moreover, the aura contained a terrifying soul attack. Boom! The two auras instantly collided. The space between them was constantly twisting and distorting. Thump, 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 thump. Li Shiyu's expression changed. His body kept retreating. He wanted to forcefully stabilize himself, but he was completely unable to do so. He retreated a full 10 steps before he could stop. He was shocked. Just now, he wanted to use his aura to suppress Lin Yi, but he didn't expect that the other party's aura would be even more domineering. In fact, the pressure even caused his heart to tremble. The dozen or so experts couldn't help but exclaim in surprise at this scene. Countless experts who had come to watch the show sighed. They did not expect that a newcomer would be so arrogant and powerful. He was at the peak of the second level of the creation realm, but his aura could directly crush a 5th-level creation realm martial artist. For a time, countless people opened their mouths wide in shock. Shock other than shock, there was still more shock. On the other hand, Lin Ye's body did not move at all. His hands were behind his back, and his face was calm and collected. There was even a faint smile on his face. His whole person gave off a kind of calmness that made people feel suffocated. Ordinary. However, that peerless strength made people not dare to underestimate him. So powerful. Countless genius experts on Sky Dazzling Peak were extremely curious when they saw the people around senior brother Ling Ao move out. They followed all the way, wanting to watch the show. Now, there were already over 1,000 experts gathered here. Every one of them was at the 9th level of the Void Refinement stage or Creation stage. Every one of them was a famous existence in the outside world. At this moment, when they saw Lin Ye's aura suppress Li Shiyu, they were only shocked. Someone who dared to go against senior brother Ling Ao was naturally not an ordinary person. He was even more courageous than the 10 great creation stage experts of Sky Dazzling Peak. You're arrogant enough and have some strength. However, since you've offended senior brother Ling Ao, you're destined to disappear. Li Shiyu's expression kept changing. Facing over 1,000 Sky Dazzling Peak experts, he was humiliated by a newcomer who was 3 levels lower than him. When he thought of this, he was furious and decided to eliminate this newcomer. He wanted to let others know that he, Li Shiyu, was not to be trifled with. As he spoke, he arched his body and turned into a ray of light that charged towards Lin Yi. At the same time, an unparalleled fist glow burst out. The space was directly destroyed by Li Shiyu. A 5th-level creation stage expert snatched the fortune of heaven and earth during a great battle. However, Li Shiyu looked down on Lin Ye's strength and directly used his martial skill to attack Lin Yi. He even charged out himself. Needless to say, he wanted to fight in close range and destroy Lin Yi with one punch. Ling Ao? What's that? Can it be eaten? Lin Ye's face was indifferent. When he saw Li Shiyu's destructive attack coming, he casually raised his hand and punched forward. Ha ha, ha ha, crack, Heavenly Emperor fist, peak of the 3rd level. The punch was like a Heavenly Emperor descending. At this moment, Lin Yi was like a Heavenly Emperor. Fist intent had the power of a superior. Boom, in the blink of an eye, Li Shiyu and Lin Ye's attacks collided. The space was first distorted, then destroyed, and endless wind raged. When the explosion sounded, a figure was blasted out. Everyone's gazes followed the figure that was sent flying. In fact, everyone knew that the figure was Li Shiyu because Li Shiyu and Lin Ye's attacks were directed at each other. They did not turn around or move. The one who was sent flying was naturally Li Shiyu and not Lin Yi. However, no one dared to believe it. They could not believe that Li Shiyu, a 5th-level creation stage expert, was sent flying by a 2nd-level creation stage newcomer. Plop. In the air, the figure that was sent flying spat out a mouthful of blood. Finally, He landed heavily on the ground. Li Shiyu, that's right. It was Li Shiyu. In a head-on attack, Lin Yi, who was at the peak of the second-level creation stage, sent Li Shiyu, who was at the fifth-level creation stage, flying. The impossible had become reality in front of them. For a moment, everyone was so shocked that their jaws dropped. Many people swallowed their saliva. They were shocked and in disbelief by the outcome. Crushing, a complete and utter crushing. A fifth-level creation stage expert was crushed by a second-level creation stage expert. As for Lin Yi, he stood on the spot. He was not affected at all. He was calm and collected. He looked at Li Shiyu, who was not far away, as if he was looking at a dead dog that had been beaten to the ground. Screech, thousands of experts stared at Lin Yi in a daze. In their eyes, this newcomer was a complete monster. He was the kind of newcomer who kept a low profile and was afraid of trouble. Tell me, if I cripple all of you, how will that Ling Ao deal with me? Lin Yi spoke. He glanced at Zhou Cheng and the others. As he spoke, he walked towards the dozen experts. His tone sounded like a question, but it felt like an order. Chapter 162. Lin Yi's voice was indifferent, but his tone was bone-chilling. Zhou Cheng and the rest felt a great provocation. A LV2 creation realm martial artist. First, he killed Zhao Yin, then severely injured Li Shiyu. Now, he provoked more than 10 experts around Ling Ao, which made the creation realm experts furious. One had to know that there were over 1,000 experts watching this place. If they did not get rid of Lin Yi, they would be a joke in Celestial Light Peak. I've offended senior brother Ling Ao. No matter where you go, no one can save you. Zhou Cheng stared at Lin Yi. Then, he walked towards Lin Yi. He was at LV8 Creation Realm. Among the people around Ling Ao, he was the strongest. At this moment, he knew that others did not have much confidence in dealing with Lin Yi. Instead of embarrassing himself, he would rather kill Lin Yi himself. LV8 Creation Realm. He could easily kill a LV2 Creation Realm martial artist. Is that so? I have to make a statement first. First, I don't know any senior brother Ling Ao, nor did I offend him. Second, Ling Ao wanted to hit on my maidservant. I didn't even take it to heart, but you guys came to cause trouble first. Forgive me for thinking that Ling Ao was the peak master of Celestial Light Peak. Third, I don't cause trouble, but I'm not afraid of it either. Lin Yi looked at Zhou Cheng, and his heart began to feel heavy. An LV8 Creation Realm martial artist was the strongest opponent he had ever met. Although he was not afraid, he did not want to fight a meaningless battle with such an expert. He had to make things clear and let everyone hear it. Even if something were to happen at that time, the responsibility would not be on Lin Yi. His voice was neither fast nor slow. It rolled like thunder and spread into the ears of all the experts. Hearing Lin Yi's words, countless experts were stunned. Some people felt that Lin Yi was looking for a way out. Some people felt sorry for Lin Yi. You can only blame your bad luck. Accept your fate. Zhou Cheng didn't expect Lin Yi to do this, and he couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. In Tianyao Peak, they had bullied many people, and everyone knew that they were bullies, but very few people said it out loud. But now, Lin Yi explained everything. However, he didn't care at all. This was because senior martial brother Ling Ao could do whatever he wanted in Tianyao Peak. Even if something happened, senior martial brother Ling Ao would be responsible for it. Besides, he was just a newbie. Everything would be fine once it was resolved. I didn't want to make a move. Unfortunately, there are people who are despicable. Lin Yi activated the Starry Sky Divine Art, and a terrifying aura instantly erupted. He did not dare to be the slightest bit careless when facing an expert at the 8th level of the creation realm. This was a true expert, and if he was careless, he would fail miserably and be consigned to eternal damnation. As he circulated the Starry Sky Divine Art, his spiritual force also circulated. Divine Dragon 9 transformations, absolute defense, invincible attack. Everything was brewing at this moment. His entire person seemed calm. However, as long as it moved, it would erupt with a power that could destroy heaven and earth. Rumble, rumble, the space was distorted by the aura. At this moment, Lin Yi no longer looked like a quiet scholar. Instead, he looked like a domineering god of war, giving people the feeling that he was unparalleled in the world. Under that thin body, there was a power that could destroy heaven and earth. Lin Yi is no match for Zhou Cheng. Of course, Zhou Cheng is at the 8th level of the creation realm. It's a pity that he's going to die just after entering the Shengling heavenly sect. He's also very strong, but it's a pity that he provoked senior brother Ling Ao. Back off a little, lest you get hurt. Thousands of experts were watching the show. When they saw that Zhou Cheng was about to make a move, it was as if they could already see the ending. Although everyone could see that the newbie was very strong, it was a pity that he met Zhou Cheng, who was at the 8th level of the creation realm. The difference between the two was too great. No one could surpass 6 levels to defeat an opponent. Even the Shengling heavenly sect's eldest senior brother couldn't. Moreover, Zhou Cheng was also a demonic expert. He wasn't invincible in the same level, but he could easily defeat any expert below the 8th level, even if his opponent was a genius. It's useless to be so eloquent. Accept your fate. Zhou Cheng swung his hand, using his palm as a saber, and slashed towards Lin Yi. The seemingly ordinary slash carried an unparalleled saber will. The power of the fate palm transformed into a saber beam that was unparalleled. It was even more terrifying than a sacred weapon. This was the terror of an expert at the 8th level of the creation realm. In an instant, the destructive saber light cut through the space. It landed in front of Lin Yi. In an instant, Lin Yi was at the center of the destruction. The power of an 8th level creation realm expert was unparalleled, and the slightest carelessness would lead to eternal damnation. Seeing that Lin Yi was about to be killed by Zhou Cheng, countless experts who were watching the show couldn't help but secretly shake their heads. A demonic genius newbie was finished just like that. However, when countless people thought that he was going to die, Lin Yi moved. Yes, he moved. However, he didn't dodge the attack. Instead, he stretched out his right hand and slashed with his palm as a saber. This action shocked all the experts. Then, they shook their heads and looked down on Lin Yi. He was about to die, yet he was still pretending. Wasn't he speeding up the pace of his death by learning from Zhou Cheng? However, soon, no one thought that Lin Yi was pretending. That was because the power of Lin Yi's slash was equally domineering. The saber intent, that was at the peak of 70%, raged through the space. The area within a few miles was completely shrouded by the saber light. The entire world was filled with saber light, turning the place into a world of sabers. Ultimate slash. All things become void. The corners of Lin Yi's mouth twitched as he muttered to himself. The unparalleled saber light and saber light instantly merged and turned into an unparalleled divine saber that slashed toward Zhou Cheng. The divine saber seemed to have descended from the sky and destroyed everything in its path. Crack! The divine saber that was formed by the saber light shattered Zhou Cheng's saber light. Then, the divine saber descended and slashed down. Zhou Cheng's expression changed. He didn't expect Lin Yi to be so powerful that his life would be in danger. If he had reacted a little slower, he would have been slashed into pieces. At the thought of this, he broke out in cold sweat. He waved his hands and made a gesture of hugging. Suddenly, an unparalleled power of creation burst out. The power of creation of a level 8 creation realm was the most powerful attack. He pushed his hands forward and the power of creation went against the divine saber. Rumble, rumble. The divine saber, the power of creation. When they collided, heaven and earth shook and the space shattered. Unparalleled wind and light shot in all directions. With the two of them as the center, the space within a 10-mile radius was filled with cracks. Countless experts who were watching the show hurriedly put up their defenses to block the aftermath of the destruction. Poof! The divine saber slashed through the power of creation and the remaining force hit Zhou Cheng. Zhou Cheng spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. Heavenly Emperor Fist. Lin Yi didn't intend to let Zhou Cheng go. He didn't give his opponent any chance to breathe and disappeared in a flash. When he reappeared, he was already behind Zhou Cheng. His speed was extremely fast. It was completely beyond the scope of the creation realm, and was almost comparable to teleportation. Zhou Cheng, who was sent flying, didn't know that Lin Yi was behind him. Even if he knew, he wouldn't have the chance to fight back. Chapter 163. Bang! There was a muffled sound. Lin Yi's domineering Heavenly Emperor fist landed on Zhou Cheng's back. Instantly, blood splattered everywhere. Zhou Cheng's body collided with the fist with inertia, causing his body to crumble. His LV-8 Creation Realm body could no longer hold on. Puff! Zhou Cheng spat out a mouthful of blood. His body crumbled rapidly. Hundreds of cracks appeared on his body, and he could no longer recover. His life force was quickly draining away. When his body fell to the ground, Zhou Cheng's life force was completely drained. He could not be more dead. An LV-8 Creation Realm martial artist had fallen. He had died at the hands of an LV-2 Creation Realm martial artist. The battle between the two had only lasted for 10 breaths. Moreover, they had fought head-on. Lin Yi and Zhou Cheng did not even use their weapons. This outcome was beyond the imagination of all the onlookers. In their opinion, Lin Yi would definitely die. The only difference was how long Lin Yi could hold on before he died. However, this was not the outcome. In reality, Lin Yi had severely injured Zhou Cheng with one move and killed him with one punch. Straightforward and simple, domineering and powerful. This was how everyone described Lin Yi. Shock. Everyone was shocked. There was no sound at all. All the onlookers' mouths were so wide open that a fist could be stuffed into them. Their eyeballs were about to fly out, as they could not believe what they had just seen. Terrifying. So powerful. Domineering. Many super experts reacted. At this moment, they looked at Lin Yi with fear and dread. A LV-2 Creation Realm martial artist had actually killed a LV-8 Creation Realm martial artist. No matter how they looked at it, it did not seem real. Zhou Cheng was too careless. If he had used his weapon right from the start, he would not have ended up in such a miserable state. He was indeed careless, but Zhou Cheng's outcome has already been decided. His saber intent is infinitely close to 80%, while Zhou Cheng's saber intent has just reached 70%. He did not expect to lose to his best saber intent. Did you notice Lin Yi's speed? It was as if he had teleported. Countless discussions broke out one after another. For a time, the matter of Lin Yi and Zhou Cheng's battle was pushed to the peak. They all looked at Lin Yi with respect. This was a world where the strong were respected. Scram! Go back and tell Ling Ao. It's best if you don't come looking for death. If you want to die, come to the Holy Spirit battle platform in 3 days. Lin Yi's gaze swept across the other experts. These dozen or so Blessed Realm experts were all following senior brother Ling Ao. When they saw the strongest Zhou Cheng being killed by Lin Yi just like that, they were completely stunned, and their expressions were extremely ugly. Yes, hearing Lin Yi's words, the experts knew that Lin Yi would not attack them for the time being. Suddenly, he felt as if he had been granted amnesty. In the end, he brought Zhou Cheng's crumbling body towards the falling cloud pavilion. He did not dare to stop for even a moment. Senior brother Lin. Senior brother Lin. Thousands of onlookers all greeted Lin Yi. In this world where the strong were respected, even if Lin Yi was much younger than them, Lin Yi was much stronger than them. Naturally, they had to call Lin Yi senior brother. Senior brother was not only a form of etiquette, it was also a symbol of identity and status. Lin Yi nodded. With his hands behind his back, he walked step by step towards the land of Saint Spirit. The battle just now was undoubtedly a small interlude for him. Zhou Cheng, Ling Ao, they were all just small fries. He was going to face Ling Tianli, the eldest senior brother of the entire Holy Spirit sect. He knew that even if he took Luo Xing away when Ling Tianli was in seclusion, Ling Tianli would still come to him. Therefore, there must be a battle between him and Ling Tianli. However, there was a huge gap between his cultivation and Ling Tianli's. He had to improve his cultivation in a short time. Otherwise, he was not qualified to fight against Ling Tianli at all. Soon, he arrived at the Tianyao Square. There was a transmission array in the center of the square. Lin Yi walked over directly. Show me your ID chip. When he came to the transmission array, Lin Yi was stopped. What shocked him was that the person guarding the entrance was an expert in the celestial being realm, who was beyond the creation realm. To enter the land of Saint Spirit, one must show his ID chip. Because each person's time was limited, the ID chip was the identity of an expert. Thank you, Senior. Lin Yi took out his ID chip and handed it to the guard. Newcomer, you can cultivate in the land of Saint Spirit for 6 hours. When the 6 hours are up, you will be automatically pulled back. The guard took Lin Yi's ID chip and swiped it on the crystal ball in front of him. Suddenly, Lin Yi's identity was displayed. At the same time, it showed that Lin Yi could cultivate for 6 hours. Thank you. Lin Yi took back his ID chip. He walked towards the transmission array. As soon as he stepped into the transmission array, he was immediately crushed by a terrifying force. As he advanced through the transmission array, the pressure became stronger and stronger. In an instant, the transmission ended. Lin Yi appeared in a chaotic and hazy world. In this world, there was a huge stone tablet. The stone tablet was 100 meters wide and 100 meters thick. It was 10,000 meters tall and towered into the clouds. The mysterious aura and power were emitted from the stone tablet. Around the stone tablet, there were layers of stairs, like terraced fields. With a sweep of his divine sense, Lin Yi knew that there were a total of 999 steps. Each step was 1 meter high, and the distance between each step was 10 meters. On these steps, there were many experts cultivating. However, most of the experts were very far away from the stone tablet. They were around the 100th step. Only a small number of experts were cultivating near the 300th step. As for the 100th step, there was no one at all. What a magical place. I can easily comprehend the concept. It seems that the closer I am to the stone tablet, the greater the harvest. Lin Yi looked at the stone tablet and the circular steps around it and muttered to himself. Then, step by step, he approached the stone tablet. First step, second step, 10th step, 20th step. The closer he got, the more terrifying the pressure was. And the soul attack was getting more and more overbearing. Even Lin Yi did not dare to be careless. He could only move forward carefully. He realized that his cultivation was increasing rapidly. His concept was also increasing rapidly. At this rate, it would not be long before he could increase his cultivation level and break through his concept. However, at the same time was passing quickly. He could not hold on for too long. 2 hours passed. Lin Yi reached the 100th step. 4 hours passed. Lin Yi reached the 200th step. However, this place was still very far away from the stone tablet. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.